Risky Sanabria. I'm here on behalf of the New York State Professional Firefighters Association in support of the firefighters here in this community. When I say, what I've been hearing the last 6 months, this is just a matter of more planning and execution. In 2023, when the board decided to go ahead and purchase the truck, those people were here elected by the community, and they were making the right decision to support the infrastructure. Because that's what it is, that's what police cars are. They're part of the infrastructure of the community. And it's the responsibility thing to do to update it. Had that board at that time decided to go ahead and purchase it, at this point, for whatever reason, the school board has decided that that was not a good idea. And fine, maybe so. And what is the plan of action if that's the road we're going to go down? What is the plan to provide this type of equipment for this department and for this community? What's the plan? Along with that, maybe, as Steve said, maybe that is. We've seen the writing on the wall with this type of plan where if you neglect the infrastructure, fire housing, neglect the grid, eventually they're going to get too expensive. Maybe that is the plan. If that is the plan, the residents deserve to know what is their public safety going forward. With the 3,000 calls that this department takes, who will absorb that? Volunteers, as great as they are, they're having a hard time themselves with manpower, with getting the resources that they need to take care of their call. So what happens to response? These are all the answers that the community deserves. And to not give them those answers and those plans is reckless and irresponsible. People deserve answers, especially when it comes to public safety. It's one of the pillars of what government should provide to the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Risky. Ron Stork?
Want to do the fire first?
Pardon me?
You want to do everybody that's with the fire first? That way I can talk about the separate. Mine's about the park, so I think
About
it's
the
more.
car? No, we're fine, unless you want me to put you at the end.
That'd be great.
Okay. Jason Kogovin.
Jason Hogan, I am a resident. There's a lot of people talking here that aren't residents, and the board does work for the residents, so I think it's a public event. Why this discussion is happening is that the fire protection is one of the largest expenses that the village budget has, and the residents have asked whether there's a more cost-effective way to deliver this essential service. Medina currently spends an estimated, this is based on New York State Comptroller benchmarks of similar sizes, $1.9 million a year on the service, and 70% of that goes to wages, benefits, and pensions. Alternate uses. So 93% of fire departments in New York State are volunteer or mostly volunteer. Many villages contract fire protection with neighboring facilities, fire districts. Estimated cost of contract fire protection. It's about $600,000. Includes fire protection, capital contribution, and administrative. So that's a contract for fire protection. You could get that contract and it would have a fixed cost. What that means for taxpayers, estimated annual savings of $1.3 million based on Medina's tax base, and that's just a rough estimate. That would be $289 a year for every $100,000 in assessed value. For a $150,000 home, that's $430 a year. Now, what happens with the fire station? We get rid of the fire department. We go to this volunteer. If the village retains ownership, it can be serviced out to EMS services. It could be an income, $50,000 to $100,000 a year. That'll reduce taxes. What would not change? Fire protection, obviously. 911 service, that would still be there. It's all in place. Response standards would be written in any contract. Village would retain oversight. Now, your ISO, the Insurance Service Office, Public Protection Classification. Now, they're talking about raising your insurance premiums. It's a fraction of a fraction. 50% of the fire department's capabilities goes into that. A fraction of that would be for this ladder truck. Statewide context. volunteer fire services save New York's taxpayers $3.8 billion annually. Many volunteer departments maintain strong ISO fire ratings. Why this matters? It's not about eliminating fire protection. Everybody wants a firehouse. Everybody wants it. I want it. But let's be smart about it. It's about delivering the same service in a way that residents can afford in long term. Now, let's be clear about it. Let's have an open discussion, but let's have responsible stewardship of our tax dollars. That's what I really agree for. Responsibility for our tax dollars. Figures are estimates of New York State comptrollers, and that's it. I mean, you want to talk about who works for who? The fire department works for you, and you work for us, for the residents. New York State, yep. New York State Village Laws, subsection 10, 1006, and subsection 10, 1008, Village Board 10, modify or dissolve any village fire department.
Thank you, Jason. Linda, leave it up. We can't hear you. We can't.
I am here as a village resident tonight, so all my comments are based on being a part of the village. First of all, there's no question that we've been creating service from our fire and ambulance service. But in creating, somebody stated earlier that this was brought up in November 2021, where Chief presented the issues. I've been going to village board meetings twice a month, almost 3.5 years, missing 2 or 3. And I've never, in all the time I've been going, heard the fire chief mention any of these issues in the board meetings. Boards change over, people are different from year to year. So I guess I'm surprised that all this has been going on. Maybe there should have been some, in the village board meeting, if the issues were as serious as they sound they are. I also want to say that I'm not sure if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I don't remember the village residents and taxpayers ever getting factual numbers on how many calls there are each year and where those calls are serviced from, within or without the village. I'm also curious from the volunteer fire companies in the area. Do those volunteer companies need and or want the village of Medina to help them serve their communities outside of the village? Because if that's the case, then village residents should not be the only ones taking the responsibility of buying fire equipment, which I think has been the problem and the concern of this board all along. If people want the service, and I use the service, I want to get it. But you can't keep putting the costs on the village if there's use outside. Has that been a thing too? I know that 99% sure that's not happening with the township. And probably the most importantly, can this board tell us what our estimated tax rate is for next year? Not just for the truck, not just for the building, but with all the increases that are going to happen across all the other issues, the gas, the repairs on buildings, for the other departments, the salary raises, all of it. Because that's, I think, where we got in this situation to begin with. We looked at one issue at a time, and then we did not look at a big picture, and that's fiscally irresponsible not to do. And finally, last year, one of the trustees said they would not vote for a 2% tax, to go with 2% tax cap. We are waiting on that, and I'm curious, what's the position of the board? Would that same trustee feel the same now? Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Tim Steiner.
Hi, my name is Tim Steiner. I have lived in the village. My 316 Park for about 13 years. I love all the services we get, but one thing I've noticed is my taxes have gone from about 3,000 a year to about 6,000 a year, and nothing has changed. There's been no improvements, and the fire department, the police department, as well as the roads, the sidewalks, the sewage, the water, everything. I'm trying to figure out where this tax money is actually going, if it's supposed to be going into the village. What I love with the fire truck is, when here wants, sure. But where's the other $3,000 increase? Where's that going? I'm sure everybody here, including the board, has had increases like that as well. And that's one of the biggest things is, where is our tax money really going? And what can we do to hopefully get everything resolved, everything we want? There's one of fire trucks, $1 million, $2 million. Warehouse, it's $1 million or $2 million, depending on what it is. And we're trying to keep these historic buildings, such as the one that's out in the front next to the police station, the old police station. It's time to stop using those because it's high maintenance and go about it, but let's just save some money. And donate them or sell them, whatever we gotta do. We need sewage infrastructure. Myself, I've said it before, I had to pay over $7,000 to have the sewage line replaced in the road, because that's my responsibility, because our codes are so outdated and nobody wants to change it. Same thing with sidewalks. If you're a village resident and it's broken, someone gets hurt, you get sued, you gotta pay for it. You gotta get a ticket, you don't plow it, repair it, and the village is doing nothing to help with those. Most recently, we have a bus stop in the corner I complained about where the plow trucks have nowhere to put the snow, they're pushing it right up there, and then they expect people to clear. This is who can clear 6 feet of snow, plow truck pushing it on the corner and hitting the signs, causing more damage to the properties. This is not just in my area, I've seen it all over the place in the village, and we just need something done with everything that's going on, taxes increasing, equipment getting old, outdated buildings, and everything. We have a giant piece of land now next to the court building that we let people use, charge it. That's our tax money, yeah, it's just sitting there, build something there, save some money, stop trying to make it historical when we already can't afford what's already historical.
Thank you, Tim. Dominic Parada.
John Brown, live in Burns Parkway, Shelby. First of all, not against any fire.
Can you talk up into the mic, please?
The majority of us aren't against getting a new fire truck. It's this truck. Now, what I want to know is how many people in here, I want you to raise your hand, live in the village. Okay, now you people are the ones that are going to be paying for this fire truck. The rest of you that get the service aren't paying for it. It goes to Yates, it goes to Lindenville, it goes out to Shelby. So this is all on your shoulder. Everybody wants to use everything in Medina, but they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to help pay for it. And another thing, the 3 board members that everybody's been saying they don't want it, they want a fire truck. But we just can't afford this fire truck. There's other trucks out there available. And I know everybody's dropped the ball. It's been different board members. But when this all went down years ago, to put this new lavish house up and everything, I was going to all the meetings. We got the $6.5 million. Now, where are we going to come up with $6.5 million? Then we started all over again. We got a new board. Just saying, the people in this $48, $100,000 assessment is nothing anymore. And that's just this year. Then they got the following year, 10 years from now, that's gonna be $700, $800, $900 a year. So,
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Jeff.
I'm not used to speaking in public. I'm a victim of the Medina. I had a fire, a building in Main Street right across the street from the fire department. It's like 150 feet, right in front of it. And it took them forever to get over, right straight across the street. If anybody couldn't put a fire out, couldn't get any closer to the fire department than I could. And, I got two things to complain about that. They took them, I'm in the building. I smell smoke. I was sleeping, I wake up, I go to the window, and I stick my head out there. The fire department's right down there in the front door. And I'm yelling, I'm up here, and I didn't know the fire was, I just saw smoke. And they're running around like chickens with their heads out, trying to figure out what the hell they're doing. And I couldn't get attention. They had to throw something out the window. He did it. Finally, that day, he did a letter. And I said, well, I got a letter go up there in my apartment. And all they do is throw it out there, but they're running around like crazy, so I didn't want to distract them. So I let them put a letter. So they put a letter up there, it's 5 feet too short. And I just fell off. They had to hang out the window to get out of it. Then I come to find out later, after all that mess, I told them before I was putting the fire truck, I told them all the doors, the garage doors, and they all open, and you get access to the building. The fire on the right in front of the door, just below that. They never open the doors, they didn't do anything like that. And there's a fire hydrant right there, right in front of the station. And they never used it. I don't know, they had water in it, they never used it.
We have video of rescuing you for a second.
Stop.
And then they put me in the fire truck and said, well, you got to go ahead and take an ambulance to hospice. I don't know how to do that. Then one of the fire guys tried to give me some apples. I don't need apples. I'm fine. They kept putting on. And I couldn't breathe. So to find out, he never turned that actually on. So if I was unconscious, I could have died. So that's another thing is the ladder truck is used for something. Normally when you have a fire, you got 3 things you need. You need heat, fuel, and oxygen. And all they do is take their big ladder truck, stick it up there, and put all kinds of water on the roof. You know? All that water runs right off. The fire is poured down in the basement. They're not spraying that way. They're just putting water on the roof, running everything else. So then they put 3 holes in it. I was going out of town. They put 3 big holes in the building. And you know what? When you put holes in the building, just to get all the oxygen. So the fire spreads. The only people who did the right thing that I know is refrigerator real quick. They're volunteers. So the conclusion of all this is these guys need training. You don't need no big fire truck. And
Please stop. I'm not you, I'm sorry. Not you. Oh, you do have to finish it up. There is time.
Yeah, I
So
will.
2 sentences,
well,
please.
the whole thing is they need training. They got to get it on time. I mean, if they can't get over across the street in time and do it, all these guys need training. Then be a new fire truck, they have to hire more people working at truck because they have to train work on it. They can't even do it now with the people they got. So they're going to cost more money to keep it running. In conclusion, you have no high rise. The bank has gone for years all these trucks. And another thing is the dynasty population for the last 5 years is about 400 people population. They don't need another big bill or a fire department. Because that fire department is fine, are concerned.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Stephen Bunch.
Hear me?
Yes.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for having this forum. This is really important. I want to thank my veterans.
Can you put that up?
We're all, I'd like to thank them. We're all buried in the same flag. So, just want to make sure that that's clear. I stand here as a village resident, and my main concern isn't public safety, it isn't the response times, it's about fiscal responsibility and whether that's been done, I have no clue. I just know that there's a series of things that have to be in motion prior to entering into the agreement with the USDA. One is the SNQRA process. Hopefully that's happened. If not, it doesn't mean that receipt of the truck means that you're obligated to approve the capital project. So I would ask the board to go back, take a look at the process, take ownership of the problem from the past, and be transparent going forward. This is tough. It's been 28 years in the Army. The last time was resetting the gates for combat. And that includes all their weapon systems, equipment, and sending civilians forward as technical experts in combat. What that means is there was a lot of pricey things I was responsible for. And situations like this didn't come up. And when they did, we sought contract relief through all kinds of different mechanisms, leaning forward to save the taxpayers' money and maintain our edge to provide the service we charged us to provide and do. At this point, I think the board is trying to have this discussion. Remember that no stands for negotiations are optional. It doesn't mean that everything's written in stone. Everything's called negotiation.
Thank you. Ron Helmer.
Hi, I'm Alan Helmer. I'd like to thank everyone for the opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight as a resident and business owner in the village of Medina for 11 years. As someone who cares deeply about public safety, infrastructure, and responsible use of taxpayer dollars. First, I want to be very clear. I respect our fire department. Our fire department puts themselves in harm's way for this community every day. They deserve the right equipment, safe facilities, and leadership that come with plans ahead so they can do their job effectively. My concern is not whether public safety matters, it absolutely does. My main concern is the process has taken years, and now we find ourselves rushing forward without having proper groundwork. Nothing was done correctly from the start. Unfortunately, it's quite alarming. It's honestly quite alarming that the formal needs assessment was never completed before committing to a multi-million-dollar purchase. Okay, if public safety truly has been called a top priority, this would have happened. It's equally concerning that no grants were secured or even applied for before said commitment was made. Their basic due diligence steps and skipping them has real consequences for all those taxpayers here in the room, like myself, and for our fire department. As we sit here today, we're facing the possibility of accepting a truck without ability to even house it or maintain it. The condition of the fire station itself is another serious issue. If public safety was truly prioritized in practice, not just in words, facility readiness would have been addressed alongside the truck purchase. This is not an isolated problem. The same pattern across the village. We had reoccurring sewer backups in the residents' basements. We have aging water and sewer systems. Ongoing water costs, sidewalks that are cracked and even unsafe. And that's a serious problem for seniors, families, people with disabilities, and our tourists. These are not cosmetic issues. They directly affect everybody in this room. Residents are already paying more, including a sewer capital fee, yet many of these problems remain unresolved with no clear plan forward. At least being communicated to the public, that is. People on fixed incomes are frustrated and they deserve better explanations and better planning. Good leadership comes doing things in the right orders. Needs assessments need to be done. Funding strategies need to be next. Grants need to be pursued early, and facilities planned before equipment is purchased and or delivered. Delaying these decisions for years and rushing them forward without proper planning puts everybody in a difficult position. Public safety is not optional and it deserves to be handled correctly. And that's exactly why I'm running for mayor, because residents deserve leadership that does the hard work before the bill comes due, not after. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ron. Carol Colina.
Hello. My big complaint is, unless you live in the village, you need to keep your mouth shut. Unless you want my tax bill, okay? That third tax bill, yes. There are so many comments on Facebook, whatever. If you don't live in the village, be quiet.
Thank you, Carol. Brian.
Commissioner.
Yeah. Wiseman? Oh.
Ryan, Commissioner.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, board, for the opportunity, to talk tonight and your public comment. This is not in a way negative toward our first responders. Know that you are respected in the job you do in your life to this community. My comments really are focused on, and I don't know all the details. I can't know all the details, but I do some simple math. And we ordered a truck. Truck's $1.7 million is my understanding. I look at other communities across the country. Albion in our own backyard ordered a truck, I believe, in August. Committed to a truck, almost $2.5 million. The going rate for a ladder truck, I know they're not equivalent specification, but the going rate is $2.5 million for that. We're in 1.7 million. We understand depreciation on a new vehicle happens immediately. But one question I have is, has the board considered if this purchase is made at 1.7 million, can we not resell that truck and perhaps actually make profit for someone that's on a waiting list for a vehicle that they're only waiting 2 to 5 years for? And can we turn around and utilize those funds for either used truck that is in better shape than what we currently have, that's not serviceable, or some other solution? Just a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Brian Helmer.
Thank you, Brian Helmer. I'm a business owner in the area. And a question on an agenda item we're supposed to talk about. But the discussion on moving the general village election from March to June, I just have a question why that was considered. And also the flock safety play readers program that you guys are going to be putting into place. I have a question on that. There's been a lot of talk in public recently about protecting your data being surveilled by these cameras. A lot of communities across the United States have negotiated or changed their contracts or eliminated them with this flock system. So I'm hoping, I spoke, this is the last meeting, and I don't want to have my customers being surveilled every time they come to the dime. And I don't know if other people are aware of this, but this was put in place at the last meeting. So those are my 2 questions before.
Thank you, Brian. Chris Seagull.
Chris Seabaugh, but I'm a firefighter, born and raised, graduated. I gave myself a walk across that stage. No, I currently don't live within the village. I bought a house outside of town before getting hired. So that's where I live. But continuing on, President Steve Miller's conversation point, this land truck not only helps the village residents, but the businesses that have followed the back of the home. We have a growing tourism culture happening in Medina, which is amazing. We have multiple hotels and businesses. In the village that are at least 3 stories high or higher. Anyone that is willing to invest in Medina is going to benefit not only from having a ladder truck, but all the amazing services we as the village provide. I'd like to touch on a couple fallacies going around. First being, this ladder truck will not fit down the streets. I can assure you it will. We have driven a couple different demo models on our roads, and they are comparable in size and have had no issue. Secondly, no, we don't have any under construction in the village. That is not the reason for the 100-foot ladder. We have to take into account the flat of the structure, which is 1.5 times the height of the structure. To put it simply, a structure that is 30 feet high, we need to park 45 feet away. So to effectively reach a structure and be safe, we have to take that into account. We understand that this ladder trucks come with a cost. We are not naive to this fact. At 48 cents per thousand value of a residence, that's roughly $48 a year, 13 cents a day. A small price to pay, you know you're with your family are going to be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Hibbard. As long as we can hear you, Jim.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna change gears and the players and maybe, but I'm gonna talk about Triennial for a second. Particularly the one in Gulf Street Park. I've seen the layout that they want to do down there, and which is okay. And I'm sure these pillars are going to be wonderful structures. What's happening down in Gulf Street Park with the new disc golf course that they're implementing there? It's been fantastic. It draws a lot of people in from the Northeast United States. I've met many people. I live across the street from it. I have basically my whole life. So I see a lot of people coming to the disc golf course, as well as recently, I've noticed a lot of people sledding down the hill. I counted 23 people over there last Sunday. So I've seen a connection here. And I think if we're going to put some structure down in the park, we have to make sure that we place them properly. And the reason I say that is because one of the other functions we're going to work for in that park is probably a new playground. So there's good things going on down there. And I'm thinking about it. The village workers did a great job these last few days. I just said, I can't believe it. I thought all the things were great. So the Triennial, I know they have cones down there and they have an idea where they want to put them. But I don't know if all the structures need to be put together like that, or we can utilize some up top or some at the other side of Fourth Street when you come in. I think that's debatable, and I think it should be done properly, because moving forward, when the new playground is implemented, everything will tie together, which will bring into the factor of the park program returning that. So we kind of will tie together all age groups. And I think that's the important part about having a park, that everybody has an option. And all I have, and I don't think committee meetings. I had a sidewalk line in front of my house is getting pushed up by a tree for the past 25 years. If we may address that in particular. I appreciate you letting me speak, and I am leaving and go back to work.
Thank you, Jim. Ron Stork.
I'm Ron Stork. I'm a Medina resident, and I'm also here to talk about the Triennial in Gulf Spring Park. I went down there about a week ago, and they laid out some cones showing what the structure is going to look like. It's actually going to be 7 separate sculptures, and it encompasses a very large footprint. With this footprint, it's going to take away some of the play area and some of the, for like playing baseball, kickball, and yes, they can use part for kickball, and there are kids that go down. I also feel that with the footprint of what this sculpture is going to encompass, that it's actually taking up a lot of green space and a lot of space where the kids are. I'd like to propose that they possibly think about moving that sculpture maybe to State Street, where you have Blue Thursday and where you have Memorial Day, and where you have like side roads where people can actually view the sculptures better, especially even if it's whether it's more handicap accessible, it's more elderly accessible at State Street. Where you look into moving that larger sculpture over there, and taking the sculpture that's at State Street and moving it to Dollar Street, because that's one single sculpture. The park was actually built in 1945.
Can you talk a little bit closer?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
The park was actually built in 1945 by 3 World War II vets and 9 area kids to make it a play area. Make it for kids, about kids. I think if you put the sculpture, how they set the cones up right now, and you set up the park program again, it's gonna take away from the kids and the purpose of why it was created. So I just like to see if there's a different place where they could put it, or change it for one of the other sculptures at the other parks, the one at, like I said, changing it with one at State Street. The only other thing I had was they did kind of touch on it a little bit, but they said that they're gonna cover the insurance for up to 3 months. Now, is that the insurance on the structure? Is it the insurance if somebody tries to climb it and gets hurt? There's a lot to look at. And then it's also how much extra work is it gonna be on the DPW and stuff when you put in that sculpture, and are they going to take it out in 3 months? Because if it's a triennial, it's only supposed to be there 3 months. Are they going to, wherever they place it, are they going to put it in only for 3 months? And then are they going to take it out? Or is the village going to have to take on that extra responsibility of taking care of that?
Okay. Thank you, Ron. I received, pardon me?
Can I say something? I'm sure.
Are you leaving?
Yeah, this is my first contact.
You're not signed up for the second public comment period
Yeah, this is paying for this right here.
to the park?
No.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Different people need enough coffee.
Here. Is the fire chief here tonight?
It's right up front.
Okay. There was a man up here standing, while I was up here standing, they're all laughing over there, making fun. That poor guy was, had an incident, he was explaining, and they're all laughing about
Yannick, we're taking care of that.
it. Okay. And another thing, how many firefighters that are sitting here, how many live in the village?
Yannick,
Okay, there must be you. The rest of you guys, you don't have any skin in the game. You work here. You're taking your pay.
okay, Yannick, we're gonna stop this. We're not here to scold. You're addressing the board. As I said at the beginning, you want to address the board, but now I have a couple letters that I have to read for this first public comment. Well, this is not what this is for, Yannick. This was to address the board. Yes, there is. So I received some letters, and I apologize that you have to listen to me read them, but they wanted these read during the public comment period. We acknowledge and support the critical life-saving services provided to the community by the Medina Fire Department. It would be a severe disservice to the community and a public safety concern to lessen those services that are provided by such. Regards, Ridgeway Volunteer Fire Company, Incorporated Board of Directors. Medina Teachers Association supports the well-being of our community. We believe that the voices of frontline professionals deserve to be heard, and that solutions should always be guided by safety, respect, and collaboration. Joe Byrne, MTA President. To whom it may concern, I am writing to express my strong support for the Medina Fire Department in its purchase of its ladder truck. This apparatus is not only vital to the safety of Medina residents, but it also serves as a critical resource for surrounding volunteer fire departments across our region. Medina Fire Department is 24 hours a day, 365 days a year operation. It's critical that we of East Shelby Volunteer Fire Company have a cooperative system with Medina, as apparatuses and personnel regularly support the neighboring agencies during large-scale incidents, storms, and multi-alarm fires. The ladder truck provides capabilities that no other piece of equipment can match. In communities with multi-story buildings, schools, apartment complexes, and industrial facilities, rapid access to upper floors is essential for both rescue and firefighting operations. Without this truck, firefighters would face significant delays and limitations in reaching victims or controlling fires at height, putting lives and property at greater risk. Equally important, the Medina ladder truck is a shared asset. Volunteer fire departments in neighboring towns often rely on Medina's specialized equipment when emergencies exceed their own resources. Its presence strengthens regional cooperation and guarantees that when disaster strikes, no department is left without the tools needed to protect their citizens. I know Shelby Volunteer Fire has a ladder truck that can be provided when needed, but also at a time when their apparatus would not be available due to being in use at a different battalion or even out of the county or out of service for maintenance. It's about having that redundancy to protect the community and avoid any delays. Also, insurance ratings and community safety scores are directly influenced by the availability of advanced firefighting equipment. Losing the ladder truck could negatively impact the residents of Village of Medina. Insurance premiums for homeowners and businesses are directly influenced by a community ISO Public Protection Classification PPC rating. This rating evaluates the fire department's ability to respond effectively to structure fires, and fire apparatus plays a major role in that score. When a department removes or loses critical apparatus, such as a truck ladder, engine, or tanker, the ISO ratings can worsen, which leads to higher insurance costs for every property owner in the district. Removing a ladder truck or other essential unit reduces the department's ability to perform fire suppression tasks effectively, which directly lowers the fire department portion of the ISO score. Loss of the ladder truck reduces firefighting capability, A ladder truck is critical for reaching upper floors, ventilation, elevated master streams, rescue operations, accessing larger complex structures. Negative financial impact on the community would be ISO ratings worsened due to loss of apparatus. Homeowners pay more in annual premiums, businesses face significantly higher commercial insurance costs, new development becomes less attractive due to higher risk classification, the community may lose economic competitiveness. For these reasons, I urge decision makers to recognize the indispensable value of the Medina Fire Department's ladder truck. Retaining this apparatus is not simply about equipment, it is about safeguarding lives, supporting volunteers, and ensuring that our communities remain resilient in the face of emergencies. Thank you for your consideration. Respectfully, Debbie Taylor, Fire Chief, East Shelby Volunteer Fire Incorporated. Mayor Sherman and members of the Village Board of Trustees attaches a letter from Orleans Community Health in support of our longstanding partnership with the Village of Medina Fire Department. Thank you all for all you do to continue for our residents of our community. I know none of you have an easy position, but your commitment is appreciated. On behalf of Orleans Community Health, we are pleased to offer this letter of support of the Village of Medina Fire Department and its continued commitment to public safety and the well-being of our community. Orleans Community Health has long valued the strong partnership we share with the Village of Medina Fire Department. Over many years, this collaboration has played an essential role in protecting the health and safety of our patients, staff, residents, and visitors. Beyond the invaluable emergency medical services provided by the department, we have partnered on fire safety exercises, emergency preparedness efforts, and have on numerous occasions relied on the department as a trusted resource to support hospital operations and readiness. We recognize the increasing challenges municipalities face as budgets tighten and the cost of providing essential services continues to rise. These same pressures exist within healthcare. Like local governments, we are constantly balancing sustainability, staffing, and financial responsibility while remaining committed to delivering the highest standard of care. At the core of both public safety and healthcare is trust. We all work diligently to earn and maintain the confidence of those we serve. Decisions and commitments made in good faith often become expectations within the community, and when circumstances require change, rebuilding trust can take significant time. This is something none of us can afford, particularly when a single moment can determine a positive or negative outcome for those in need of care or emergency response. Orleans Community Health is proud to be the largest private employer of Orleans County. Of that, more than half of them reside in the Medina area, and our payroll is over $1 million every month. Our organization's presence represents not only a healthcare resource, but also a significant economic partner invested in the long-term strength and stability of the community. We value the collaborative relationship we have built with the Village of Medina and its fire department and look forward to continuing this partnership. We commend the Village for its ongoing support of public safety and its commitment to ensuring that first responders and essential services remain strong and reliable for the community they serve. Sincerely, Mark Schertz, CEO, CIO of Orleans Community Health. Two more. Mayor Sherman and honored trustees, as you enter into discussions this evening regarding various issues related to the fire department, it's worthy to note that many of the very same fundamental issues have been vigorously debated at length many times before. Staffing levels, sustainability, equipment, paid or volunteer, etc., have all been hot-button issues that have from time to time been re-examined, studied, and passionately debated. I'm looking back nearly 40 years, I clearly recall these very issues being raised in spirited discourse by the late, highly esteemed Mayor Marcia Tooley and the Village Board. The Journal Register, in an op-ed at the time, presumably written by the late Bob Waters, stated, "When it comes to providing fire protection for the village, Medina residents for decades have now come to rely on the service of a full-time paid fire department. From time to time in recent years, when retirements have occurred and when the village cut back on its ambulance service, there have been rumors that the paid fire department would be done away with in favor of a volunteer unit. Understandably, such rumors and discussions were met with a substantial amount of public opposition. This piece goes on to state that a paid fire department is what residents have indicated emphatically in the past that they want. The tenor of the editorial from start to finish clearly indicates that Mayor Toohey and the majority of village residents were emphatically in support of a paid full-time fire department that was adequately staffed and equipped to meet the needs of the community. While this occurred nearly 40 years ago, again, the issues are the same, with the core driving issue being, how do we move forward in providing the level of protection the village has enjoyed for decades and clearly wants in a fiscally responsible manner. I did then, do now, and always will support paid full-time fire and public safety in the village of Medina. Public safety deals with low probability, high consequence events. The stakes are incredibly high: lives, severe injuries, destruction of property. When things go wrong, the toll in terms of human life and financial loss are enormous and sometimes catastrophic. You're kidding yourselves if you somehow think that a lesser option will address any such high consequence event just as effectively. As Mr. Waters stated so long ago, our current offerings are what Medina residents for decades have now come to rely on. We rely on them no less today, perhaps more so. This story of 40 years ago did have a happy ending, so to speak, but it took a great deal of hard work and true leadership. I'm not suggesting that arriving at a consensus solution for any of this would be any less difficult than it was for them. I'm not new to public service, and I am fully aware of the challenges that difficult and trying circumstances present. But when leadership prevails, good things happen. Leaders have vision, passion, and integrity, and are compelled by a sense of direction and a powerful commitment to purpose. They build consensus not through coercion and shouting, but by articulating a compelling shared vision that aligns goals with the community's needs. In this case, providing the level of protection the village has enjoyed for decades and clearly wants in a fiscally responsible manner. Such a consensus solution regarding the issues at hand with the fire department seems as impossible now as it did 40 years ago, but leadership prevailed, and it can again here tonight. You are all truly good people. You have been entrusted with the ask of governing by your constituents for a reason. You give of your time and talents for the good of a community that you love with all your hearts. I urge you tonight, be the leaders we need today. Start anew. Think harder on something you may have missed, and then think on it again. Listen to each other. Build consensus by articulating a compelling shared vision. I sincerely wish you all the best in this debate. Best regards, Christopher Bush. I have one more that also deals with the ISO ratings. So to give myself a break, I'm going to wait to read this other letter after Chief Cooley gives his presentation. It's from Justin Niederhofer from Portland County Management. I'm going to close the first public comment period. Discussions and resolutions on the ARC Triennial projects in locations in Medina. Matt, Hollenbeck, and Shirley would like to address the board about the request for placement of 3 pieces of artwork on village property. And I guess in speaking with Matt earlier this evening, you basically want to know if there are any questions of the board.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, I'm Shirley Verico, and I'm in the Medina Triennial, and my partner.
Matt Hollenbeck, head producer.
And we know that we did submit a formal proposal to the board and open discussion at the last session.
And I just wanted to take a minute to introduce the Triennial. We do have information sheets for anyone that's interested in it. There's been a lot of information shared today, so I'll keep my comments brief. There are papers on the table where you signed in. But the Triennial is a free public art exhibition that will be taking place in the village of Medina. And it is a triennial, so it occurs every 3 years. So the 2026 edition is the first, and then it will occur again in 3 years in 2029. The summer is running from June 6th to September 7th, and it will include artworks, events, talks, workshops, educational programs, and all of this is held in public spaces and existing buildings, and it is all free and open to the public. So you're all invited. People will begin to participate in our events. I want to thank the gentleman that did speak about the park program. It was very, very thoughtful. And, you know, we are engaging with the community all the time. So I do want to thank you for that. Did you want us to go over the proposals again, or do you all have that paperwork in front of you?
How does the board feel? Would you like them to go over them again, or are you good? Mark, Scott?
I've reviewed it.
Okay.
There
So,
were a couple questions the board had at the planning meeting. I didn't know if any of those needed to be readdressed.
can you repeat that?
There were a couple questions that the board had at the planning meeting. Last, I didn't know if any of that needed to be readdressed before making a decision.
Matt, did James look at a different location over at the school? I know he was talking about it. I wasn't sure if he was set on Stork Street or if he was, or Gulf Street, or was looking at another area.
I think at this point in James's work, getting back at the person question, he is involved in as he goes. He is an artist, of course. When he works on the piece, he is often collaborating with local communities, local universities, and I think right now he may be looking at another site, but he also certainly is still looking at it.
And I think at our last discussion, it was brought up that the board did not have to decide if these art fixtures would stay permanently. For right now, the board is only approving them for the 3 months.
Correct.
Okay. And then the other issue was, if I remember correctly, the insurance. And the art Triennial does have insurance that they will provide to the village, like they've done with other things. And if those art fixtures were to stay, then we would work something out with the artists and our insurance company and the art Triennial to insure them. And Ron asked a question if anyone should get hurt on them, that there would be some sort of insurance that would have to be looked into.
Correct. Yeah.
So let's look at this, the first one, the barnacle placed on the slate rock, and I believe you were asking that this be placed in State Street Park.
Yes.
And was it the location up by the sidewalk so as not to interfere with any parking during the Thursdays and the potential, the playground?
Yes, the idea is that the sculpture not be in the way of any of the parking or the walkways.
Okay. So does the board have any feelings on the placement of the barnacle placed on the slate rock? I know there's probably a name for it, it's a specific name. Any questions about that one?
Just that, can you hear me?
No.
Yep.
Is that better?
Speak right up to it.
Okay, yeah, just that at State Street Park, we do have Blue Thursdays and there's like tons of people all over the place, so, I mean, we certainly want it in the middle where that would take place, so, I think I mentioned before that maybe some discussion with the superintendent regarding placement.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I think that there was a place that was Mary Sherman that pointed out would be kind of
out of the way, but we are welcome to working with the board and anyone in the city of to kind of place it in a place that is the most safe and doable.
We realize, public art happens in public places alongside lots of other public activities, like concerts. We're very well aware, and we realize that we work alongside those planners. We've looked at a lot of photos, but I understand, having done programming, that somebody knows that actually there's always a XYZ in that place that's not a good place. We're friendly to maybe, and to accommodating. We want all of the work with the Triennial to live with and among the village and the activities that already happen here. Thank you.
Jeff? Yeah. Okay. Mark? Scott? So Matt, do we need a motion to allow it? Resolution?
Yeah, would need.
So I'm looking for a resolution with a motion to allow, we'll do each one of these separately, to allow the artist to place the proposed concrete poured particle on Slate Rock. There's no name for that one? Is there a name?
I can't go into perfection, but something like I traveled 100 million miles to get to this point.
Okay.
I think it's in your packet.
Oh, there it is. There it is. I traveled 66 million years to be with you, and then you came.
Perfect.
So for that, I'm sorry, I missed that. So then is there a motion to allow this artist to put this project in State Street Park at an agreed upon location with Jason? We have spoken with him about this in the Blue Thursdays people.
I'll make the motion.
You say it.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Scott,
I'll second it.
a second by Mark. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. I'm going to skip over, because I know there's going to be some more discussion about this other one. So there's a art project entitled Community Tool Shed for the Birds. And they had asked that this be put in Rotary Park at the back of the park, out of the way from activities going on in there, but something that could be viewed. Does the board have any questions about this one? Okay, so we would need a resolution and a motion to put the community tool shed for the birds to allow it to be placed in Rotary Park this summer.
So moved.
By Mark.
I'll second.
Second by Deb. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The final ask is entitled New Commissioned Public Artwork for the Medina Triennial. Do you think that's really the name? Okay. And so the artist is James Beckett is asking that it go in Gulf Street Park. Does anyone have any questions or concerns or any comments that they would like to make?
I drove by Wall Street, I appreciated the homes and gives us an idea where we're gonna go. I'm sorry to say that I'm not in favor of that. The project is very interesting, but I feel that, it's directly in front of the playground and just not thinking that's the best site for it. I'm not sure that the park itself is really gonna do it. This is a really large, display, if you want to call it, and, I'm just wondering if there could be a different location, possibly, where there's not playground equipment. I would This would almost look like it would be something that kids could play on. It's next to a swing set. So that's my concern with that.
Matt, when he first presented that project, didn't he say that it was going to be built for people to climb on it and to interact with it, or not?
Yes, and that was the original idea that the artist had. The stones themselves would be anchored with stainless steel thread rods, rebar rods, so that the stuff doesn't actually come apart. He mentioned that he wanted the public to interact with it and to walk around. I'm not sure getting a copy of the office is a great idea to do that. And structure, but this was a structure that was hands off.
Okay, that did sound odd to me when he said that.
I also think the initial concept was a lower, longer, wider, structure. And after seeing so many of the posts that he felt that those were really interesting, like from both farm fences through the area. And I think that's when the project got taller. So I think it was not an idea that people would be climbing on the latest design.
Can you speak right into the mic? You might have to just pull it right up to you.
I'm not in favor of where it's at. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of where,
So you gotta tip it and move that one away from you. Move that one away there.
I'm not in favor of where it's being located. First thing is my concern is the size of it, that, where it's located. The maintenance around that, according to this picture. We have a hard enough time mowing that during the summer as it is. That gets really wet. It's like a hayfield, a good portion of the summer. And that gets, that big structure being down there and on the location of where the homes are located, I'm not in favor of that.
Does anyone else have any comments? So Matt, I think I heard you say earlier that there is, or Shirley, there is not a different site that he could use instead of, that he's thinking of instead of Gulf Street Park at this point in time.
At this point in time, there was a primary idea to have the location of Gulf Park. But there, as time has gone on, we've tried to cite 35 artists. So we're actively looking at different sites, talking to local property owners. I think we're not proposing that it's public at this point. And some of the people that we're talking to have asked us not to divulge that information. So we don't know. I don't know what James is thinking at this moment in time, but it's kind of an ongoing thing. We're trying to give them options, but we also want to support them in what they need for their spot. We also want to make sure that it's something that makes sense for them, that people can interact with public art. We're trying to upgrade and enhance and connect, not something that can be costly and dangerous.
Just a little bit. The Gulf Street Park area, when you guys selected that spot closer to the playground, was that the only spot in the park that worked for the art, or is it possible that, like some of the other folks have recommended, maybe we could go closer to Stork Street within that same park, but kind of not breaking up the existing spaces?
Thank you for the question. Yes, and that was great comment by Nicole. Thank you for the discourse about that. I think the artist is open to changing the location of the spots, kind of the same way that the bar. We want to make something that fits into the area that would make the most sense. From what I understand, there are subterranean structures there that aided the drainage that were, some of them were under the sweat factory that came across the property down to the catch basin. James wants to do a site evaluation to what's there, so if anything has to move for safety reasons, ground, but we also want to work with a committee that makes the most sense, looks the best, the safest.
So I'm hearing that the board is not in favor of where the cones were. If the board would you like to ask them to go and look for an alternate location within Gulf Street, or in a totally different, look for a totally different location? Scott?
I don't really, the location of it is definitely gonna be wet, and I talked to James about it, about moving it up, but we never moved the cones to get any, feedback from the community. And I have received a lot of feedback from the community where they would, if there was an alternate site, they would rather go with that. To be honest, a few people have expressed concerns over it.
So is the board comfortable? I'm not hearing that anyone is specifically in favor of this. They want an alternative location looked at, and then we can discuss it at next work session. I believe that's February 9th, maybe. Is the board okay with that? Okay, so Matt, Shirley, just have James, are the codes still out there?
Yes, the cones, you're talking about clarifying the alternative location within the golf park.
Is yes for?
Yeah, and then we could look at that and see if there's something alternate.
The alternative location within Gulf Street Park? Or no, is that not what you're thinking?
No, I was thinking totally another location. I've already heard people here tonight that felt strongly enough about it to speak on it, and so I don't know.
So maybe you could do a little bit of both. Look for an alternative location within Gulf Street Park, and the people who are concerned could look at that other location and give their feedback. And also, if you want another location on village-owned property, present it to us at February 9th, on February 9th.
Sounds great, thank you. Thank you to the board for nourishing today. Thank you to the community for having us, really appreciate it.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
The Canal Corporation would like to donate 2 picnic tables near the Sidney Gross Memorial in Lions Park. This property is currently owned by the village, but the village and the Lions Club maintain it. We still need to accept the donation. The DPW department and volunteers from the Lions Club have agreed to put them together and install them. So before she can move forward with this donation, we need a motion from the board to accept 2 picnic tables. One is ADA compliant, and to replace 2 tables in Lions Park.
So
Second.
Okay. So I have Marciano and second by Prowl. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Is Meg Wakefield here tonight? Meg Wakefield has asked the board to consider allowing her to use village property for the community garden this year. At the last meeting, we discussed allowing her to use a piece of property to the north of 528 Church Street for the garden. This village-owned property is approximately 600 of an acre. It's a small plot of land. Has the board given any more thought as to a location for this community garden? Is the board prepared to make a motion to allow a community garden to go on this plot of land?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Marciano, second by Belisky. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The village is ready to move forward with the pedestrian bridge project. I'm looking for a resolution for the advertisement for a bid, with the bid opening on February 18th at 3:00 p.m. Jada has prepared the bid and is prepared to have it published. But we need a formal resolution. Okay, motion by Deb, second by Jeff. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. In order to dispel rumors and to get factual information out to the public, I asked Chief Cooley to gather some information regarding ISO ratings. He will present his findings to the board now.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for showing up tonight. I was able to find a lot of quick information online, like everything. So I worked to establish a contact with ISO. I did that through the assistance of some other fire chiefs in New York State. It is a voluntary program. You can opt out of it, but then if he's unable to complete a review, the ISO will contact the administration to begin the process of publishing your community as class 10 and the worst category, scoring the worst. If we opted not to participate in a new public protection classification and to verify the current classification ranking scale 1 to 10, the participation in the program is voluntary, non-participation is all by we have 38 buildings, 3 stories or higher. There's a lot of, we're going to have 5-story buildings, so we need 8-story buildings. Difference of opinions around on that. So he said it was 3 stories or 35 feet. So it could be a 2-story structure that's 35 feet. There's 38 buildings in the village, and there are 4 buildings that need to increase fire flow of 3,500 feet. Doing the math, he said would need to come out and do another inspection visit. Well, the ladders go out of service and now replaced. That we try to get us the truck service. It's truck / service credit. It's 2 different things in one. And the 3.96 that we scored the last time, we could get a 0.8 credit for the ladder service. And we would probably retrograde from a class 5, which we are now. It was established in 2020 to a class 6.
So 5 being the middle of the road, but the higher up you go, the worse it is.
Yes, the bulk of fire departments in the United States, 30% of them, they fall in class 5. 15% are class 6. Class 3, which is better, and is a 10%. Sorry, class 4 is 20. Class 3 is 10. 5% of the fire departments in the nation are 2%, and only 1% of the fire departments in the nation are 8.
Thank you, Steve.
With that being said, I'll read the letter from Justin Niederhofer. To whom it may concern, I'm writing to reiterate and further strengthen my support for the Village of Medina Department's ladder truck project and the necessary fire station expansion required to properly house it. This correspondence addresses New York-specific insurance underwriting practices, ISO public protection classification, PEC scoring, cost avoidance, and municipal liability consideration associated with proposals to sell the newly ordered ladder truck rather than accommodate it. The Medina Fire Department has already taken the prudent step of ordering a new ladder truck to replace its existing apparatus. The current ladder truck barely fits within the existing station and is currently out of service due to expensive and costly mechanical repairs. Continued reliance on an unreliable apparatus or the elimination of aerial capability altogether creates unacceptable operational and financial risk for the Village of Medina and the region as a whole. In New York State, property insurers and municipal underwriters place significant weight on ISO PPC scores when determining rates, underwriting eligibility, and risk tiering, particularly outside major metropolitan areas. ISO PPC ratings are routinely used by New York Central Mutual, Preferred Mutual, Erie Insurance, selected commercial carriers, and municipal risk pools as a baseline indicator of fire protection capability, especially in communities with mixed-use commercial and industrial occupancies. Ladder trucks directly influence ISO scores under the Fire Suppression Rating Schedule, FFRS, particularly Section 5600, Company Distribution, and Section 5800, Reserve Apparatus. In New York communities with buildings exceeding 2 stories, concentrated commercial districts, or legacy downtown construction, ladder companies are also evaluated under Section 5700, special service companies, due to their essential role in life safety, vertical access, ventilation, and elevated master stream operations. The loss or unavailability of Medina's ladder truck could negatively affect ISO PPC scoring for the village and surrounding areas that rely on Medina for mutual aid coverage. In New York, even a one-class degradation in PPC rating can result in measurable increases in homeowner, commercial, and industrial insurance premiums. These impacts are often most pronounced for small businesses, apartment buildings, mixed-use structures, and manufacturing occupancies common in downtown and village settings. Thus, the tax benefits of not expanding the fire station could be superseded by the insurance burden from the loss of the ladder truck. New York underwriters also evaluate reliability and availability of apparatus, not simply ownership. A ladder truck that is out of service, inadequately housed, or subject to frequent mechanical failure may not be fully credited during ISO field surveys or insurer underwriting reviews. Selling the ladder truck outright will almost certainly be viewed as a permanent reduction in suppression capability, potentially triggering adverse underwriting actions and long-term premium impacts that compound annually. From a fiscal standpoint, station expansion represents a clear cost avoidance strategy. Planning level estimates indicate that expanding the fire station to accommodate a modern ladder truck may reasonably range from approximately $1.5 million to $3 million, depending on scope and design. By comparison, a new ladder truck typically represents an investment of $1.8 million to $2.2 million or more. Properly housing this apparatus protects a multi-million-dollar public asset, maximizes service life, and supports favorable insurance evaluation. Selling the newly ordered ladder truck would forfeit prior investments and likely result in significantly higher costs should aerial capability need to be reestablished in the future. The New York's procurement environment, rebuy costs would almost certainly exceed current pricing due to inflation, manufacturing backlogs, and extended delivery timelines. During any interim period without aerial capability, the municipality would face increased reliance on distant ladder companies, an arrangement that underwriters often view as less reliable than locally housed and staffed resources. Liability considerations are also significant under New York law. Ladder trucks provide essential life safety functions, including upper floor rescues, firefighter egress, ventilation, and elevated master streams. In post-incident reviews, litigation, or insurance claims, the absence of appropriate equipment, particularly when a known deficiency exists, may be scrutinized. Decisions to divest critical fire suppression resources after acknowledging operational need can be difficult to defend from both a legal and risk management perspective. Ladder trucks are not interchangeable with engine companies. They provide unique and essential functions, including aerial access for rescues, roof and upper floor operations, elevated master streams, ventilation, and firefighter egress. These capabilities are especially vital in Medina, where building height, density, and construction type demand aerial operations, and they are equally important for mutual aid responses throughout Western Orange County. It is also important to emphasize that this ladder truck is staffed by full-time career firefighters. In New York underwriting practice, career staffing is widely recognized as enhancing reliability, response consistency, and operational proficiency, particularly during daytime hours. This staffing model supports favorable ISO evaluations, strengthens insurer confidence, and reduces overall response risk across the coverage area. Expanding the fire station to accommodate the new ladder truck is not simply a capital project. It is a strategic investment in public safety, infrastructure, fiscal responsibility, and long-term risk management. When weighted against insurance premium impacts, liability exposure, and future replacement costs, station expansion represents the most prudent and defensible course of action. For these reasons, I strongly oppose the sale of the newly ordered ladder truck and respectfully urge support for the necessary station expansion to preserve this critical county-wide fire protection asset. Sincerely, Justin Niederhofer, Director of Emergency Management, Orleans County. That was a lot.
Thank you for that, everyone that gave some input on our rating. Also look it up that 40% of our rating is based on our water supply. You can Google it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Chief. Discussions on resolution. A resident submitted a claim to the village saying that the sidewalk plow threw a stick through her window. She is asking for the village to pay for the repair. Attorney Brooks and I gave her a letter saying the village is not responsible for the repair, but she asked for the board to discuss this further in a meeting. I did reach out to our DPW department and the officer taking the report. While there is no proof that it was caused by our village sidewalk plow, there is a slight possibility that it could have been caused by this. The resident did reach out to her homeowner's insurance agent for her deductible is more than the cost of repairing the window. So she's asking that the board pay $479 to repair her window. And I'll open it for board discussion.
I'll make a motion to pay it.
Okay, there's a motion by trustee Belisky to pay the $479. Whoa, Jeff is seconding it. Is there more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Brittany Dix of Hospice has requested that the board allow her to put a sign in Butts Park announcing the annual bouquet sale. She did this last year. She would like to have it placed around February 6th and for it to remain there until the end of the sale on March 13th. So I'm looking for a motion to allow a hospice sign to be placed in Butts Park.
Rotary Park.
Oh, hang on. Wait a second. It's Butts, it's not Rotary. Yes, it's Butts Park. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Mark, thank you. Is there a second? Second by Matt. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Medina Area Partnership is requested to put a porta potty behind Rotary Park for Wine About Winter on February 7th at their cost. We will need a motion from the board for them to place the porta potty where the porta potty is usually placed by the tourism department in the summer.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Deb. Second by Jess. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. At a previous meeting, the department heads have presented a list of items that could be declared surplus in the village. Then they went out to auction. The total for the sale came in at $39,396. With some of that, we'll be going back to pay the premium for the auction. So the board needs to officially accept the bids as presented so that the items can be distributed. Is there a motion?
I have a question on
I should
this.
speak right in there. I'm sorry, I keep reaching in front of
Yeah,
you.
sorry. I have a question on this. I don't know why we need a resolution on something that, we're not approving anything because the stuff has already been picked up. My understanding is when we put this for surplus, that these items, were gonna be brought in front of the board and we'd be able to look and see how much money that, each item was received. My understanding, the other day is, these were already accepted. I'm not gonna be part of that, not having to look at the items, see which items we accepted and which items we didn't accept. I have a problem with that.
I agree. I sent a lot of questions of those items. Have to distribute it until the board accepted the bid, and it was ignored, and the items were distributed. The bids were already accepted, and the bids were, or the items were distributed.
It was,
I'm not gonna make
okay, it was my understanding, and I reached out to Matt about this, that in the past, it hasn't always been done, but it should be done. Like Jada and you and I talked about it too, that it should be accepted by the board, and it wasn't done for past boards, right, Matt? Or
Well,
not all the time?
it wasn't maybe always done. Typically, the way it should be done is there's typically a motion to
You're
declare.
gonna have to speak into the microphone. That's just gonna say that.
There's typically a motion to declare surplus and then to list at some sort of auction site. There's also usually the procedure as it should be, and it doesn't always happen. Then, once the bids are received, they should be approved. Because sometimes you don't realize the amount you want for a thing and you might want to hold it and rebid it later or a different season. So typically that should be the procedure, declared surplus, put up for auction, and then most governmental auction sites give the governmental agency the ability to either approve or deny that particular bid. And that's the way it should be done. I'm not sure, I wasn't, privy to some of those emails of the board and how it happened this time, but going forward, we certainly should. That's the typical way to do it.
For clarification, I can see the email that said don't release them for those items released after that email.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it seems pretty cut and dry to me that this is a process that is not properly followed. At this point, we have to decide what to do about what's already been done. So, in the interest of moving forward, I'll make a motion to accept the sales total of 39.96 at.
$39,396.
Yeah, so I'll make that motion, and then also we have to understand that in the future, this is a process that we currently got kind of last time, being right now.
So there's a motion on the floor to accept those bids. Is there a second?
I'll abstain.
Matt, what happens if we do not get a second motion to accept the bids as presented and some of the items have been dispersed already?
Well, I mean, to a certain degree, it's a little bit academic. What's been dispersed, and we've done by action it may be academic, it may be bids that we would have accepted. I mean, that would be the particular department head would have to look and say, yeah, that's a good price, and we would have accepted it. So something that's been transferred to a new owner, we've accepted payment. I mean, can't really go back and change that whether or not it's approved. I mean, it's not going to, it's not the really the best way to do it, but a lot of times that you know, we change things, a lot of things, just like in that case where we had the motion where we accepted to pay that woman's damages. The law says we don't have to, but, you know, we can do a little bit of modification here and there. We have a little bit of leeway. So with regard to what's done, can't go back and change it. It doesn't make it anything that we have to revoke. And like I say, to a degree, it might be academic. It might have been a good price. We just didn't go and do the procedure. And I don't know if it was. Typically, I know 99% of the time I've done for Medina, other municipalities, motions where we approve, and I'm not sure if this was Options International or whatever, you know, usually I find the department heads always come and say, yeah, we got more than we thought we ever would. So maybe this is, you know, we're not going to go back and change it. It'd be very difficult. It wouldn't be cost effective or time effective to change it. So it may have to just be let it lie as it is. But the items that we haven't distributed or haven't consummated the sale, well, we should work on approving that if we can tonight, to say if we're going to approve it or we're not going to approve it. Those sales and the items we still have.
Margaret, can I ask, well, for a copy of, I got the letter from the hospital, my email, but I'll get the letter to the resident, transfer a copy of that, and then also, I guess we're gonna want to see a breakdown of what was sold. It doesn't make any sense.
I think that came across the,
Oh, yeah.
okay. Jason and department heads, do you have a list of items that are still here? Or is this something we want to hold off on until our meeting, our February 9th meeting? So most everything is already paid for, we have the invoices. The only thing that has been distributed is the old police car. And the fire truck. It has not been distributed.
Picked up the title.
So he got the title from the village office, but he hasn't picked out the truck yet. So is the board prepared to go line by line to accept the bids line by line? Item by item, should I say?
The only thing that hasn't been, it's been picked up is the car, if they don't understand.
That's correct.
And Scott, you're abstaining because you purchased some of the items, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm sustaining also, because I don't agree with any of it. I'm sustaining also. I don't agree with the process of how that was handled. My understanding, I even asked that question, is we put it up for surplus a bit. After the final auction, it would be up to the board if we wanted to go through with that or not. And I'm not real happy about that.
Well, Mark, if we're gonna go item by item now, I could see why you would stand from the one that we have released, but if we're choosing, first of all, and you might want to give us a little bit more background on what allows for an extension, or what calls for an extension and what doesn't. Because you don't have financial impact, you can vote yes or no, I can believe. But on top of that, if we're gonna go item by item through these, I can see you choosing not to vote for the one that's been picked up, but if we're gonna unwind some of these deals as a result of this, I think that we are doing, if you want to do, we're just doing it, the thing we ought to do. We're just doing it later than we shouldn't have done it. But the only way to move forward is to accept or deny these bids. And I think even though we're doing it later than we should have, I think we're doing it now.
And I think that Matt had said earlier this week when I spoke with him that, you know, previous previously, you know, and I think he mentioned it a little bit tonight, that you look to the department head to see if we're getting what the value is. And then the department head will let the board know if the department head thinks that we're not getting what we should for each item. And yes, we need to do this a different way in the future, but no department head has come forth to say, hey, this was, you know, we can't let this go for this amount, correct?
Right, and typically, most municipal auctions, the municipality retains the right to reject all bids. And I'm assuming this auction was in that fashion. So we could have, but typically the procedure is you get the auction bids in, and the department head who has that particular piece of equipment says, you know what, this is fair, this is all we're going to get. Or sometimes a lot of times I see them say we got a lot more than we thought we're going to get, but I'm not sure. I have not done that analysis or heard from anybody, but typically they'll make a report and the board would go on that, you know, department head's recommendation and advice because they're frankly the expert with regard to it. So I can see sometime, I mean, the mistakes are made, and this maybe the cart on some of these bids got put in front of the horse. I would think maybe the department head would speak up if he saw something that said, wait a minute, even if he didn't understand the process and said, wait a minute, this is way too low. I'm not turning it over. I'm not accepting it. But, you know, the analysis can be done, should be done in the future. But now that some of these items have already been consummated, I mean, we're legally obligated to turn them over, at least contractually, before we get too backed up on it. And it may be, like I say, maybe academic. Maybe if we go through the list where we got everything we should, at least we can confirm what happened rather than make a mountain out of a molehill in hindsight and learn a lesson. You know, we're going to do this the right way going forward.
And I think that Scott can probably vote on everything except for the 3 items that he purchased, correct?
Well, to abstain, there is a bit of, you don't want to have the appearance of impropriety. So there is a little bit of personal, if he doesn't want to, I don't think we can force him, but on things that he didn't want, didn't bid for, didn't win, I don't see a problem. But of course, there is a little bit of independence there. If you feel like, we don't want to, you don't want to create the appearance of impropriety. So even if there is not always impropriety, you try to avoid the appearance. So, I'm not privy to what Scott was involved in or bought, but if he feels I really can't, I mean, I wouldn't overrule him, but you're right. I think if things that he was not involved in, wasn't interested in, didn't bid on, that's, I don't see a conflict, but of course I don't know the full story here. So I give him some leeway.
So what are the wishes of the board? Sure. Jada, mine? Yes. So I can do it, yes, right? Okay, motion to accept the bid for the 2019 Ford SUV at $4,150.
Yeah, I'll make that motion. That's what we'll pick up.
Yep. Is there a second? Okay. That one died. Matt, do we have to reach out to the person who picked it up? And say
Well,
the board isn't accepting it?
if see, I'm not sure how this auction process went. If the auction has been whatever told through them and they paid through the auction service, we may be beyond that. If it's just a situation where, it's still in the waiting period where we can accept and deny, we can we can deny it. But the question is, as far as that, and I'm not sure what department that SUV was for. Was it a police SUV or?
Yes.
I mean, what we should do is probably hear from the police chief. You know, I thought it had a value of 10,000 and we should have got closer to that. So it doesn't make sense to release it. Or, you know, that's all it was worth, or maybe even less. And if we rebid it, that's all, you know, I recommend we take it.
It doesn't sound like the board is willing to do that. So we'll just move on for each one. Am I right? The board is not willing to do that, correct?
So let me just offer something here. If, regarding the car, are we not seconding that motion? What's the rest of the board stuff on that? We're not seconding the motion. Is it due to procedure or is it due to dollar value? It's $4,150. Do we not let it dollar value or is it
Procedure for me. With the dollar value, procedure on some, dollar value on others.
Right, well, that's what I'm getting at. So the only one that was, the only item that was apparently picked up, it was not supposed to be picked up, if I'm understanding this correctly, which this is not how it was explained to me earlier. If the only one that was picked up without approval was the 2019 Ford. So I'm proposing that if the dollar amount, $4,150, is acceptable to the board, that we accept that bid on the basis that new procedure is followed in the future, and that nothing is released until this board accepts those bids.
That's exactly what John.
Great.
I think we're all in agreement.
So
with
I will
that.
second that motion.
Okay, and Christian, was that a fair amount for this time?
That is a fair amount.
So there's a motion on the floor and then there's a second.
And I just was going to say the way, and maybe I phrased it more of an attorney and not in English, but the way Debbie phrased it, I think was what I was trying to say. So the procedure wasn't right, but if it's of the proper value, accept it now retroactively, and then know going forward, anytime we send anything out to auction, again, it has to be, besides the procedure to get it to auction and declare surplus, it has to be, the auction amount has to be accepted. But, so
And let's just be clear, the reason why this is all brought up is because of the fire truck was out there, and I believe that the concern was that we did not get adequate a dollar amount for that truck, and it was understood that it was like, oh, that's the other items, I don't believe there's an issue with. I mean, I'm speaking for the whole, that shouldn't. I think that's where we're at.
Thank you for the clarification. So we have a motion for,
We can't get any of this property back here and pay for it, and it's just going item by item. And at this point, so we really don't even have a choice. We can all these items are going to pay for. That is not for improvement, so there's sense of going item by item. I'll put the motion to accept them all.
Except for the
So we can move forward.
Except for the truck.
Can we get it back? Can we get it back?
The truck's paid for. You guys can take it. You move
okay, so there's a motion on the floor now. We had a motion. Jess, are you okay to rescind your motion because Mark would like to accept them all?
Yep. I'll second Mark's motion to accept them all.
Okay, and so we have a motion by Mark.
I'd like to accept them all. I feel that truck could have brought more money, to be honest with you. If we could get that truck back, I would take that truck.
So you want the ladder truck back?
Yeah, I want the ladder truck back. I think we could get more money for that truck.
So are you changing your motion? Okay.
Everything else but the truck.
So I'm hearing, Trustee Prowl has a motion on all bids as presented with the exception of the truck.
What do you feel that?
Hang on. Okay, and Pat Orozki is seconding the motion. Is there any more discussion from the board?
Yep. I feel like this is kind of emblematic of the situation we find ourselves in. That was a hot topic of public comment tonight. We're at a point where there's a reality in front of us. Most people in this room purchased a vehicle. You received your title, you paid your money. I bet you it's pretty uncommon for the dealership to call you back and say, never mind, we think we can get more money for it. This was, mistakes appear to have been made. I have no idea what this ladder truck worked, and it's far outside my scope. The reality is, we sold it at auction errantly. We should not have done so. But we did sell it at auction for $8,700. I have no idea if that's a fair price. I can't weigh in on that. That's not going to do that in the future because it's done. So now we have a choice as a board to acknowledge the reality of the situation we find ourselves in, or not. I don't know how we would proceed with going after the truck and getting it back, but I don't think that would involve not accepting this bid. We could then, send our special emissaries from board trustees to go ask this individual if they would be interested in rescinding the deal with it. To not facing the reality of the situation because we don't like the circumstances that led us here, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to decide because the way we got here didn't seem correct to us, and it was not correct. I'm not saying anything else. We should have approved these items at the time before they were released. We didn't. But now we're here, and this individual has a title and they intend to pick up the vehicle. I'm not saying we shouldn't make an effort to get the vehicle back. I'm not weighing in on that. I'm just saying the motion in front of us is whether or not to accept this bid that has, for all intents and purposes, already been accepted. I think our refusal to do so, even with good reasons, doesn't make sense to me.
And I believe that ladder truck was stripped of all of the equipment so that it could be utilized in our fire department. So it was just basically the shop, the ladder truck. Mark, would you like to rescind your motion and accept them all?
I'm going to sustain for that. I'm not going to accept that. I would do what the rest of it.
I still feel that we, obviously I understand it wasn't done right, but to move forward, we need to, exactly, I guess, I'll do that motion, we can probably move forward. It's not gonna get resolved, but I don't feel it was done right, and let's move forward with it.
So I'm hearing you say you rescind your motion and your motion, making a new motion to accept all of the items as presented. Okay, so there is a new motion to accept all of the items as presented, $39,396. Is there a second? Awesome. Okay, a second by Marcia. Is there any more discussions? We're all pretty much agreed that moving forward, it has to be done a different way, and this is all wrapped up this board, and it will not happen again. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion by Pedlowski. Abstention by Felicity. And I will vote yes. So baby started. That was work. No one is debating that. Jada's asked us for a resolution to appoint election inspectors for the upcoming election. Excuse me for a second. We need a motion that Judy Zulis, Linda Dyer, Norma Hoop, and Marianne Ander are appointed inspectors of election, and Judy Zulis is chairperson. At the hourly rates of compensation for the chairperson and inspectors will be $18.50 and $17.50 per hour respectively. Right, by Pat Second. Second by Marciano. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. There have been previous discussions over the years regarding moving the village election from March until June. Trustee Marciano touched base on it a little bit at our meeting last Friday, and actually I'm going to ask you to just describe this. There was a question from someone earlier about this, so maybe you can explain.
Yeah, so the idea of moving the election from March to June is primarily because the Board of Trustees gets sworn in the first week of April, which is the mid-budget cycle, and the budget has to be submitted by the end of April, so that you have the full month of May before the fiscal year kicks off in June. It's an incredibly unfair position to put a brand new trustee who has never, just recently got elected. My first year, my contributions were incredibly minimal. It was all learning, and that's one less person at the table. If at an election, a mayor and two trustees are two people who want to do good things for their village, but have no municipal accounting background, no concept of what services we provide, the new people always bring great insight and they bring great information, just like the members of the public who come in. They give us different ideas of things to look at, but to be a decision maker with absolutely no information behind you, it's a tough ask. So rather than learning as you go, as you're writing the budget that the departments have to live by for the next year, it makes more sense to bring people in June, which is the other affairs in June. Some of the villages in New York State do. It gives people more of an opportunity to kind of have their feet underneath them before they're writing the budget and set the tax rate that affects all of us.
So, would the board like to look into this further? I think we as a board have to decide on this, because there is a process that you have to go through. It would not happen this election year. You have to put it on the ballot for the public to decide. So I would like to know, Scott, are you interested in pursuing this further?
I am.
Mark?
Yeah, I am.
And more Jesse, Dan?
I'm not sold on the idea, but we can.
Okay, that's good to hear. So we will continue to work with the village attorney on presenting this hopefully to the public for this coming election. Yes, will we have enough time?
Yep, so I should have included those final steps, thank you. The next steps would be for us to have a resolution prepared. I did send over last year, I believe the town conference, somebody on that side, just recently went through their proposal to change theirs over, and their resolution bill is a little bit different than ours, but our company can fits us a little better. And then we don't actually get to make a determination on when the village election is held. It gets added to the ballot. If we make that resolution prior to the end of February, it must be on the March ballot. So that the folks who are, when you're voting for your trustees in May or in March, you would also flip the ballot over, and on the back there would be a proposition regarding whether or not you approve moving the village elections from March to June. So the next steps would be probably having that write up a resolution for us to look at or do that. Okay, so then if Matt can write up a resolution, we can talk about during our workshop. I'm sure we'll probably get everything out. And then ultimately, yeah, to decide what the finance is.
So if Matt, if you could have a resolution for us to look at a work session on February 9th, as a board on February 23rd, and then it could go on the election, correct?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. I can have a proposed, oh, sorry. I can have a by the 9th. That should be fine. I'll have it to, several days before that for the board to look at.
Thank you. Thank you, Jess. There have been wreaths across America donations that have come in the amount of $5,662. We would need a motion to accept those donations. By Padalecki.
Second.
Oh, and six cents, $5,662.06. Oh, that's your bad handwriting? Okay. $5,662 even. There's a motion by Deb, a second by Mark. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Hometown Hero have come in. We would need a motion to accept $5,305 in donations for the Hometown Hero banners. By Deb.
Second.
Second by Mark. All in favor? Oh, any further discussion?
This is an incredible program. I love that it happens in the village. I appreciate that our DPW can support them, putting up and taking down banners. 5 years of us knowing, our program, and yet we're running the books for it. It is a very well-run program. I thought he was very dedicated to it. It's just not appropriate for us to have those funds. So I think that I don't want to see the program change stop. I just want to see the bookkeeping change so the village and I not have the bookkeeping. I still want the hometown heroes program. I still want the DPW to support it. It's just not appropriate to us.
We can set up a meeting with Mary Woodruff for future after these donations are accepted. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have been discussing the need for a furnace replacement in the Department of Public Works. Jason has solidified 3 bids for the furnace in the DPW department. Halstead Plumbing and Heating for $4,600. Drum oil and propane for $7,470. And Frontier Heating and Air Conditioning for $1,845. Would anyone like to make a motion? For what?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's your house, sorry.
So there's a motion from Deb to buy it from Halstead Plumbing and Heating. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. In our this year's budget, Jason had discussed and the board had put it in the budget to purchase a dump truck utilizing CHIPS funding. Jason has found a dump truck in the amount of $159,226 to purchase an Allison 4000 RDS Series Dump Truck. Is there a motion to approve the purchase of this truck using CHIP funds?
So moved.
Okay, by Mark. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Mayor, to be clear, that's just the chassis. It's not the whole truck.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Does the board have any other feelings about that? Because it's the chassis? Okay, thank you. The attorney contract is expiring, and I'm looking for a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign an annual agreement between the Village of Medina and Matthew Gross Esquire. As presented. Okay, by Deb, is there a second? Second by Scott. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The bills, looking for a motion to pay the bills. Motion by Jess. Second by Deb. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Carried. The minutes for December 15th, 2025 and January 12th, 2026 have been distributed. Oh, oops. So I'm looking for a motion to accept minutes of December 15th, 2025. By Jess. By Deb. All in favor? Carried. Department head reports. Let's start with code enforcement. Dan, our timekeeper for tonight. Thank you. Oh.
Okay, so I got, first of all, in January, completed 3 end of year reports, one for state, one for MC, another report for, that key request. Lavella contacted me. Because Lavella is working, as you know, with our 4 grants, 11 small projects were approved. So Lavella contacted me and told me that I had to supply them 11 letters, one for each business, just basically stating what they have to do, because everything's located in the historic district, so basically what their approval process would be, what the scope of the project entail, certificate of appropriatenesses or any building permits, things like that. So I completed those letters and returned them to Lavella and stating that we move forward with the projects. I was working with Matt Hollenbeck, the site visit at the hub, which is the old map building, for one of the art exhibits that they were putting that building. So we just went over everything, because now it's going to be occupancy, or the rear of the building on the 2nd floor. That's for their, I guess, just some type of water exhibit. I think we talked about it at the next meeting, where they'll be pumping water out of the dam, this basin thing, and people walking there and some other dates and stuff. So I just did a site visit with them, and went over everything that we required, such as fire extinguishers, exit signs, things like that. Inspection would have to be done, pump system, and I just supplied them with a letter stating everything that we went over. Working with the developer contacted me. He purchased a vacant lot, which I think is like an acre and a half, 2 acres over on Maple Ave. He's interested in subdividing it, possibly 2 or 3 lots, using that area, because he would like to put a process. And we had a ton of court beginning in January. We had 5 separate cases, one was taken care of. The other 3 are ongoing. I think that's about all I have.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Whoa.
Okay, police, Chief Malice.
Good evening, everyone.
Calls for service between December 1st and December 31st last year were 437. Motor vehicle accidents, 17, patrol, 72, traffic stops, 59, and 10 arrests. We were asked to track calls where this department responded out of the village. For the month of December, our officers assisted in calls in the Ridgeway area for disabled vehicle, domestic incident, and assisted with the DWI. And Shelby, our officer, assisted with the mental health issue and assisted the ambulance with a patient problem. Updates. I attended the superintendent's meeting that concentrated on active shooter. We've got superintendents, chiefs, and heads of the Orange County Sheriff's Office to attend. Plans, capabilities during scenario training. We've officially registered for the 1033 program, which allows us to acquire equipment through federal government surplus. This allows us to get stuff that is costing to the village. Sometimes it does involve shipping. Lateral transfer was currently field training, and we'll be filling one of our open shifts, helping to alleviate overtime, and we also promoted a sergeant. Several of our officers attended a held on by the Orange County Sheriff's Office and Allegheny Police Department. We focused on active shooter situations, stopping the bleed from gunshot wounds and stab wounds, and building clearing. This helps maintain multiple jurisdictions, so we're all on the same page. With a lot of time, we have different tactics. Training together, we do the same things together instead of it being what each department thinks should be done. There was an admin day where department heads were shown what was spotted as county SRT team, instructors and personnel. Also, there was a comment about block safety. Thank you for sharing your concern. The block safety license plate readers and cameras are not used to monitor people, customers, or businesses. They're used for only investigative purposes after, such as locating a suspect or finding a map. When we're accessing this footage for any of the pictures that are taken of the vehicles, it's because there's a report that was made, and we use that report number to then go into the system. Finding a vehicle that was larger. And to access this is strictly limited to being alone. We're not going to have everybody in the department accessing the cameras and plate readers. Sole purpose is to assist in solving crimes and improve public safety, not to surveil lawful activity.
Thank you, Chief. Does anyone have anything? Thanks so much. DW, Jason, if he's not asleep yet. I did tell Jason that he could give his report first and go home because he hasn't been asleep because he's been, but he's ready to stay.
Well, sucks. So obviously we've been following something a lot this past month. Based in cold storage, trying to make room for more that's coming. Push back the tiles. Sidewalk plow, snow blower has been out most every day this week. If we haven't been back, it will be soon. Last 4 days, we assisted Lindenville and Top Ridgeway with water main breaks. We had a water main break of our own on New Year's Eve over on Karen Road. We're doing a lot of salter and plow maintenance, obviously. One of the board members asked me to give a little update on our salt situation. When we started the season, the salt farm was full, and I estimated the farm was about 800 tons. On the 5th of January, we ordered 200 tons, which we've gone through since. On the 22nd, I ordered another 300 tons, which we haven't received yet.
So just as a heads up to the board, that if this weather trend keeps up, we may be over budget on salt. So you're probably waiting for this 300 ton to show up. We probably have it still to over 200 tons. With the cold temperatures, the salt doesn't work as well. When it does work, it has to have heavy traffic, so cut back on side streets just to try to conserve some of the salt. We're concentrating mostly on salt and remains in higher traffic areas to conserve. Guys have been working on painting in the clerk's office during the winter to keep busy, stripping the old wallpaper, and some fresh coat paint there. New epoxy floor was installed at the wastewater treatment plant, and Steve and Bill doing some painting and dressing up the office and where at the plant as well. That's all.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Does anyone have any questions for Jason? Thank you very much. I know that you and guys are doing a great job. Fire, Chief Cooley.
Response report for December, total responses were 278, fire 31, EMS 247. Since July, they're breaking them down. July to August, they're breaking them down. Village EMS calls, outside village. 187 EMS calls inside the village, and out there was 60. Year-to-date total responses, 2789, fire was 276, EMS was 25. We were plus 252 for the year, and the overlapping percentage for the year is 38%, a little higher in December. Monthly bi-weekly medical deposits, we had over 73,000, and almost 61,000, 134,701 cents. Deposits for treatment and transport, 1.866 million. We completed our biannual inspection process with the Department of Health, EMS division. Had our ambulance and certificate renewed for 2 years. This is a thorough review of all procedures, employee records, physical inspection of the operations of the firehouse, including the ambulances. I'd like to thank the leadership team, all firefighters for the role. Very smooth. We also completed the renewal process for our controlled substance license and are all set for another 2 years. Attended the village board meeting and then nearest first meeting at the county. That is the new system that kicked off January 1st. The old NIFR system ended and it's been discontinued across the country. It's a new program now, so there's been lots of learning in place. All ground layers were tested and inspected, recertified for another 2 years. I spent 2 full days in Wisconsin completing the final inspection of the layer truck. December was our busiest month, 25, with the 278 overruns, edging out by 8 calls July, 270. As stated above, we finished 200 calls above, 124 calls. Basically taking a whole extra month, taking 13 months and putting it in 12. Anything more?
Thank you, Chief. Does anyone have anything to proceed? Thank you, Chief. Attorney, Matt. Do you have anything?
Hello? Oh, no, should be. Hello? Yeah. Other than what we've covered tonight, everything else, I guess I could be asked directly for attorney-client privilege. One thing that Trustee Belisky reminded me of, with regard to that property that we are getting a donation for a parking lot from Dr. Shaw. We finally got approval to record that last week. It was all sent to the title company because today was hectic. I did not call them today, but I expect that to be recorded if not tomorrow, or it could have even happened today, early next week. So that should be, and of course, I will send out an email as soon as I find that happens to the mayor and the board, and I guess Jason will probably want to know too. But other than that, unless there are any questions, that's all I have.
Thank you. Jada.
I just wanted to report the interest. In December, the general fund, we are up to $71,015 in interest. The water fund, $26,767.01 in interest. And in the general fund, $6,372.80 in interest. I did want to thank the DPW. John's been doing a great job in the clerk's office painting. And there is one other thing I'd like to say, and this is really kind of overdue, but I'd like to thank the staff in the village clerk's office, not only for the continued support of each village department, but meeting critical state mandated deadlines. These tasks are often presented last minute and expected to be completed in a very short time period. Their hard work is not lost unnoticed, and I value each one of them. Thank you.
Thanks, Jada.
This office stuff. Okay, does anyone have any questions for Jada? Okay, mayor's report. This past week has been very busy. Our New York Forward projects continue to progress. Jada and I had a phone conference with Sam from the Department of State, updating her on what we could, on whatever we had in our hands, and we were going over timelines with her. The planning for the transformation of Canal Basin Park will get underway soon, with a request for proposals being posted for engineering services as soon as Jada and I finish tweaking what Sam Aldrich wanted us to do and getting approval from her. I continue to advocate for funding for the public safety and infrastructure needs of this village. Representatives from Kirsten Gillibrand's office and Claudia Tunney's office came to Medina and met with Jess and myself. The conversations were very positive, and a great deal of guidance was offered as far as moving forward and applying for grants and getting letters of recommendation and the things that are needed to get the funding. I need to say that for too long, like many other rural communities, Medina has operated without a long-term strategic plan. This has often made us overly reliant on property taxes, a burden that is placed on each of you in our community. I am going to move forward with a plan, but would like to do so in a way that the community can feel a part of. I plan on starting with our department heads and then moving on to forming a committee that would focus on Medina's short and long-term infrastructure needs, financial sustainability, and responsible growth, while preserving the character of our village. It is essential that discussions include community members, business voices, and public safety representation. We can never forget who we represent, and this will act as a forum for all of those voices and opinions to come out. For example, let's stop talking about our sidewalks, the water lines, infrastructure needs, affordability. Let's do something. I have been doing some research into just the sidewalk, the codes for sidewalk, and I have some questions, and I think that if we put a group together, we can all come up with something that would be feasible for this village and make this village look better. I also believe regional collaboration matters. By involving neighboring towns, we can better align planning efforts and prepare for large future investments. So we are planning now instead of reacting later. We may have differing opinions on the direction of Medina and our own priorities, but I hope that all of my colleagues here will work with me on putting a group together that really opens Medina's future to all our community for input. We all need to be on board with this, and we need to make something happen. I will begin this meeting with department heads and engineers to hone in on some specific needs that they see. And we are all aware of them, but they have the specifics. Then I will reach out to the community looking for people who wish to meet regularly to assist in formulating a long-range strategic plan. So I'm hoping that everyone will be on board with me with this and we can start doing something. Thank you. Board comments. Who would like to start? I'll go first.
First of all, I'd like to thank firefighters Seatbelt and Miller here, and any other firefighters or board members for rallying the troops tonight. I think some of them have left already to come in. I've been wondering how to get you all together in the same room for some time now. I would have preferred the conversation to be about ways that we can improve our fire and ambulance service, along with the cost of providing those services, but it appears we have some other issues to iron out first. Attendance was encouraged by saying, come here real fast and clear up this information. I think that's a great idea, and I've been waiting for an opportunity to do just that. First of all, for those of you saying that I've not done my homework on this fire truck and fire hall, please rest assured, I do my homework. Unfortunately, no thanks to that fire department. However, if you want to see an example of those who do not do their homework, please reflect on the mess we've seen ourselves in the last 2 years. A perfect example of those not doing their homework is adopting a $6.4 million bond resolution for new buildings, and then 5 months later, beginning to ask questions about the cost and the village's ability to pay for it. Talk about putting the cart before the horse. This was putting the truck before the building. Or, oh wait, maybe this was the plan all along. When the Medina Fire Department keeps insisting we did not have ordered a smaller truck, they don't make them that small anymore. So please refer to the meeting minutes of January 24th, 2024, where the previous fire chief was asked if there was a local truck available, and he said, yes, there was, but it was essentially the same cost. Can the existing building be remodeled to accommodate a new 100-foot ladder truck? Well, the engineer proposed $1.1 million of the $6.4 million to rehab this building, but not to the extent that it would accommodate the new truck. Are there maintenance issues that need to be addressed? Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you, the fire department, shared these pictures. It will make this part of showing my homework so much easier. I toured this building in 2024, I believe, with engineers and board members and former mayors of the area, and I believe Tom was even there, so I saw this firsthand. The cracks in the floor they mentioned was actually a 1-inch separation of the expansion joint from 2 concrete slabs poured when the building was constructed. You can see that. There are cracks. Definitely, there are cracks. There are 3 pictures. There are cracks in the walls that should be evaluated and repaired if possible. I'm pretty sure these types of cracks are common in many 100-plus-year-old buildings. Floor drain in the ambulance bay needs repair. Absolutely. The road salt washed off the ambulance has deteriorated the concrete. I made the suggestion on site that day that the DPW could most likely make this repair. I don't know why it's not done. Rusted manhole cover. I would have to assume that most manhole covers are rusted. This is located in the walkway between the 2 buildings, and it leaks. This is the scary picture. The first time I saw this picture, I was startled. So much that I almost declined to go down in the basement. And I want to thank Trustee Marciano for insisting that I make that descent down the narrow stairway. The basement itself was actually quite clean and there was plenty of headroom, much better than I could imagine. There was mold on the walls, however, and a very small dehumidifier in front of it. I made the suggestion there, right then and there, to purchase a larger dehumidifier to accommodate the space. We were then shown the deteriorating support beam, which was visible wall. I could see the light from the outside shining through and realized immediately that this beam was not in fact supporting either building, but rather the walkway. The deterioration had obviously been caused by the leaking around the manhole cover. This could also be the reason for the wet basement and subsequent mold. I would imagine that this could be fixed by repairing or removing the manhole in the walkway. Do we really need a brand new building to address these issues? Do our homeowners build a new house when they are plagued by the same problems? Can the floor be lowered in the existing building to accommodate the new truck? That was a question. One of the engineers practically laughed in my face when I made this suggestion. However, they did submit a proposal in the amount of $26,000 to provide 3 options for consideration to include plan for making modifications to the existing building to accommodate the truck, a 1-bay addition and a 2-bay addition. The board decided to decline this proposal and instead sought RFPs for a new engineer. A new engineer was chosen to provide a concept plan that could be submitted with an application for a $1 million grant. The cost estimate for this 1,750 square foot 1-bay addition came in at a little over 1.3. There was no guarantee that this grant would even be awarded and no funds were available for the balance. 1.3 million seemed quite high for a building that size, almost as much as the cost of the truck itself. The combination of these 2 purchases would be an addition of approximately $1 a thousand assessed valuation over the next 20 years. The 48 cents all by itself, I did it. 48 cents is not a lot of money. But we were not just talking about 48 cents because we don't have anywhere to put the truck. So don't talk about 48 cents. It's not 48 cents. Can we cancel the truck order? That was the question. Can we cancel the truck? Cancel the truck. Repeated inquiries as to the status of the bill were vague and usually answered with a completion date. I drafted a letter to Churchville Fire Equipment, who we ordered the truck from, requesting negotiations for a cancellation. Our attorney advised them. The cancellation clause of the purchase contract states that the fee will be $172,000 following the order and $345,000 following the design phase. During research on this option, the board discovered through rumor that the fire chief and 2 firefighters had already gone to Wisconsin a few weeks prior to approve the design phase. It was also noted that the mayor was aware and did approve of this. The cost to cancel the order would be on. Now, does the ISO rating affect our homeowners insurance rates? There's a lot of discussion about ISO rating, and everybody says something different. A lot of fear mongering about your homeowners insurance. So I discussed this with an insurance agent for the village, and he informed me that there are technically 2 types of ISO ratings. One is for communities and one is for individual areas. The community rating is based on the ability and readiness of a particular community to prevent threats and respond to fire. The presence or absence of a ladder truck would be a factor, although this alone would have a negligible impact. These ratings are issued to fire departments and are not generally available to insurance agents and brokers. The individual rating is used by insurance agents and will refer to the risk at their particular location, looking at proximity to fire hydrants and nearby fire stations. These factors have a greater impact on homeowner insurance than the community rating. Now, if anybody, and any of you have ever went and applied for homeowners insurance, we know that one question that they ask you is, what's the proximity to a fire hydrant? They don't ask you what your ISO rating is. Some of you probably already know that. So here we are, smoke and mirrors for 2 years. We've been asking the questions, and as you can see, the fire department doesn't like it. Does the Village of Medina need a 100-foot ladder truck? Ladder truck has 75 foot ladder. Information I gathered from several sources indicates that 100-foot ladder trucks are needed for minimum 5-story high fences and just setback building. 75-foot ladders are typically used for tighter suburban areas offering superior maneuverability. This information begs the follow-up question, will this 100-foot ladder truck be able to navigate the challenge or even fit down most of our residential streets? Common sense tells me that it's not likely. We have barriers and posted signs on some of our streets prohibiting large truck traffic since their size and weight in property and attempting to drive down them. Statistics from 2024 indicate that ladder 40 responded to 33 calls. So when the fire department talks about responding to 2,500 calls a year, which is true, 2,700 calls, those are EMS calls. Those are not fire calls. Statistics from 2024 indicate that ladder 40 responded to 33 calls. 21 were mutual aid outside the village calls and 12 were inside. Of those 12 inside, 4 were hospitals. But do we need a 100-foot ladder truck with a bucket that answers to most of its calls outside the village? And do we need to spend $1.7 million, ultimately $2.6 million with interest over the next 20 years? I believe that there are still many questions that need to be answered. Firefighter seatbelt says we need this truck and the West End is counting on it. Really? Well, I didn't realize we were making purchases to benefit the county. If so, we definitely need to rethink this. We value our neighbors and the mutual aid services they question about that. But keep in mind that the Village of Medina contributes to mutual aid with a $3 million paid professional fire department. Not so mutual when the surrounding town's budget averages $250,000 a year. And the same personnel and equipment show up to a fire on both sides of the village. Village of Medina taxpayers cannot and should not continue to subsidize the cost of fire and EMS services via mutual aid. The real question we need to be asking is where is this fire service going? The fire department is currently budgeted at $3 million and is 38% of our total budget, above and beyond what our taxpayers can pay. Contracted payroll, benefit costs, along with mandated equipment costs are increasing every single year. They're prioritizing the staffing prices and rising costs. In 2017, the village received a SAFER grant, a 3-year program in the amount of $550,000 providing base salary for 4 additional firefighters. Those 4 additional firefighters remain on the roster until this year's budget, when the board agreed to reduce the staffing to the contract mandated 16. Statistics show that our fire department typically responds to approximately 2,500 calls per year. From 2013 to 2015, we had 14 to 15 employees with an average of $80,000 spent in overtime. From 2020 to 2025, we had 21 employees and have spent an average of $150,000 a year in overtime. This year, we have already spent over $270,000 in overtime, maintaining a staff of 16. To my knowledge, even with the several resignations, we have never gotten to what we would like. Village board members who are sure they go into a 24-hour shift and we cut down on the overtime, and in fact, it is done just the opposite. When I first got into office, previous Mayor Sevier handed me a booklet on creating a fire district. I assumed this was the direction the board of fire department needed to go. I soon found out that that was not exactly true. The reason why this issue with the truck and the building addition are not yet resolved is because there are 2 different mindsets working against each other. The status quo and something different. It's time for a change. Exactly what that change looks like, I do not know. But this board needs to have the freedom to explore it. I have been trying to free this village from unnecessary debt. That's it. Nothing more than that. If we end up with a different way of providing fire and EMS services, the village can still be saddled with this debt for the next 20 years if we don't do something now. There is no doubt that this project and purchase is not handled correctly from day one. I just think it would be nice to be able to wipe the slate clean and start over with a clear purpose and a financially viable and equitable solution for all. Smearing and slandering board members does not help the issue at hand. Public safety is not at risk. We handled 229 calls in 2024, with engine 10 and 11, versus the 12 with a ladder. We just purchased another engine from Murray, giving us a total of 3. Unless there's something I'm not aware of, we still have our neighbors to provide a joy. Do we need a ladder truck? Maybe we do. Do we need one that costs $2.6 million with interest? How about we look into selling this new truck? Then we don't have to find a place, find or find a place to house it. And maybe even have a little money left to buy a refurbished one that suits our needs and fits in our existing building. In 2021, this village received $500,000 to use however we wanted. Did we put this towards a fire truck or a fire station? No. We use it on a few special interest projects and move the rest of it on everyday expenses. This irresponsible spending of this large revenue completely skewed our balance sheet and left us scrambling to pay the bills when the funds were depleted. Hence the reduction in fire department and DPW staff and police programs. The DPW would not have the equipment they have, and we would not be able to pay the roads we do without chip sealing. Support from the state that can be taken away at any minute. Okay. We have the highest tax rate in the area, and it's wonderful that grant money is pouring into our downtown district and canal residents, and that people come from all over to eat and shop and take pictures. But you need only to drive down the surrounding streets and see that our residents are struggling. How can we do business differently and provide all services to our taxpayers at a cost that they can afford? We have 5 village departments, plus water and sewer, infrastructure that all need our attention. How about we all humble ourselves a little bit and work together to preserve our own town of Medina like good neighbors do? Excuse me, but with that, I would like to make a motion that we research and the option of selling the requirement. Okay.
So the motion is to research the option of selling the property.
Yes, I've already looked into it, it's possible. We need the okay from the rural development. We're gonna get more expensive. We need to find buyers, there's stuff to do, so I can't say. We don't know. We don't have to buy.
I'll make a motion. I'll second that.
Second it. Okay, is there any more discussion?
I guess what is, sorry, this is the same question I had last time this was brought up. I just for us to know what we're doing with that. Research the option. What happened last time, if I recall? Can you guys hear me? What happened last time, if I recall, was we had a motion similar to this about looking into things. And then one board member, if I recall correctly, interpreted it to mean one thing, and another board member interpreted it to mean another thing, and people felt like they were going to cross purposes. And I don't think anything positive came from that. So rather than head down that road again, could we maybe have a more specific motion so we know what we're agreeing or opposing? Rather than just research the option, like what are we specifically looking to do? Because it's not that we did a little bit of research already, to know what it is.
We would have to get approval from rural development, and we got them from. They would have to give us approval to sell.
So the motion, sorry, so is the motion for us to ask rural development for permission to sell the truck?
I guess we can do that, sure. And we have to do the first step, so. Yes.
And to look at the options. I mean, obviously, we're not gonna sell a truck at a loss. Let's see what we can, look at what our options are. And take a look at.
Okay. So looking at options as far as selling, excuse us, and we have to discuss this first. Okay, there'll be enough second public comment. So
You make a motion, Scott, what's your thoughts? Give it your thoughts.
I'll make a motion to look at options for selling it, and then after we come back with the information, we'll make a decision. If we can sell it at a profit, and like Brian Weisinger, I believe, said, you know, there are options out there. Contrary to belief, there are used trucks out there. I mean, is there something wrong with a 10-year truck, 10-year-old truck? Is that gonna kill us? Like, are we not gonna save our residents with a truck that isn't brand new, this big firefighting apparatus? We need this $2.7 million vehicle with no place to put it. I don't know. Let's look at the option that might be a little more reasonable for us.
So I have, I think that there are some 10-year-old trucks, specifically in a couple communities that are having problems with their trucks, which is why they're buying trucks.
Yeah, you have problems with brand new ones too, with emissions and everything else.
Yes.
Regen. I don't know, I've got a brand new van sitting in the dealership right now. There's nothing. Because what's gonna happen are these attitudes that we're just gonna go right back to, I told you so, I told you so. And, you know, yeah, if we don't all work together on a solution here, all that's gonna be is I told you so. I mean, there's options out there, new things break. Go to the car dealership right now, you can pull right in there and see all sorts of brand new vehicles sitting in there being serviced as they break. Used ones break, some used ones are better. We don't know. We don't know the answer. I just think that we need to look at options. To me, $2.6 million is not an option. That's crazy. $40,000 a year, every year for interest for 20 years. Like, it's called, you know, living beyond our means, but I'll get to that in a minute. But as far as this, let's just look at what our options are. Let's see if we can sell it and move from there.
So is this a different motion than yours, Deb? You want staff to make a motion to look at the options? And just, is that fine?
So, just to clarify, what you're saying, Scott, is just to get the information on whether or not rural development sell something you just bought with USDA loan, what the conditions of that would be.
Yep.
And I think as long as it's limited in scope to information gathering from rural development and not getting like I don't want anything to happen to our loan that jeopardizes, like we have an interest rate that I don't want to mess up if we find ourselves owning a vehicle, but then no longer have that loan secure. So as long as this is just information gathering, then I think I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I believe at this point in time, the paperwork has been signed and the interest has started accruing from the time it was deposited today. And I believe they just need their money back from the loan. I don't know what the development was saying, but I'm sure that the USDA.
Right, we don't want to answer USDA until we know, do we have a buy? Do we know that it's an independent? I think Scott.
Matt, I believe, while we're discussing this, I believe that if the board decided to do this, there has to be a protocol for putting a vehicle like this on the market.
Yeah, I can look in there, I'm sorry. Yeah, I imagine there is a protocol that, just like when you sell anything, surplus property, especially one that's valuable, there's a protocol that you have to find the best to maximize, the return to the village, whether, you know, you make, a little less than what it was worth or more, you have to maximize it. So, that I think could be part of the information, gathering process, part of the motion, and, you know, whatever aspect of it is for the village attorney to do. I mean, if that's the resolution, I will, you know, do whatever research is required.
And if the board decides to proceed with this, I would hope that there would be a thorough investigation as far as if I'm hearing that trustee Belisky seems to think that we can get a used ladder truck and purchase a used one if we sold this one. And, you know, then we have to explore everything that goes along with it, including putting money in the budget for repairs. And, so that's going to be a whole nother way of looking at things, and I would hope that, everything would be thorough. And in the meantime, are you thinking that if you want to explore the options of selling the ladder truck, you would have something else to replace it before we sold it, so that our firefighters would have apparatus that they could use to continue on doing what they're doing in our village?
We don't have a ladder truck now.
Exactly, which is very concerning to me as a taxpayer and as a resident.
Because of who?
Please don't yell out.
Could I comment, please? Yeah. The public safety we very talk about is mine, and it's my family. Those who live in, we're talking about your safety. If you live between Saltworks Road and Bates Road, Maple Ridge to Glenwood Lake, this is what we're talking about, your safety. I appreciate everybody's opinion that is outside of this community, but at the end of the day, our dollars stop right here, but our equipment goes far beyond. You know, so when we're starting to look at this, you know, we have to really, what are we looking at? Sustainability? I don't know about you guys, but I've lived here for 37 years and I intend to stay living here. When 20 more years, I want you to be here for me. And the only way that we're going to get there is we think different about the way that we're making purchases and we spend our money. If we go down this road, it's right here, right? I would have looked last Friday for all of you to show up to the important meeting, but there was 3 of us there. And that's when we talk about the money, and that's what makes this community work, right? Without it, we don't have anything. We subsidize our town so much from the Village of Medina taxpayers, and everybody wants this truck. Geez, look at this thing. I don't even know what a fire truck is, but this thing is beautiful. Who wouldn't want it on the west end? But at the end of the day, we are relying on 2,000 people to pay for this thing that everybody else wants to use and wants to, I think it's East Shelby. Boy, we really need it on this side. I'm glad that it went out to Noseville for a chimney fire. That's great. We're glad that it is. But when we ask for our fair share, outside of these towns, everybody's standing up. Oh, well, let me tell you, you know, everybody wants to buck up with their dollars. I can tell you one thing, this fictitious house for $100,000, my neighbor lives in it. You know what he pays for fire protection and EMS in 1 year? $100. Do you know what we pay? It's right here. Let's do our research. Pick this up. Let's start looking at it. Look at the dollars and cents and what we're doing. And you say to yourself, well, there's 7,000 outside of our towns. They pay us $70,000. Thanks. That's $10 a resident that are in the town of Ridgeway and Shelby. $10 a year. Holy cow. Figure that math out. That's less than $1 a month. Wow. Less than a quarter a week. You're asking us to, it's only 46 cents. We're giving you premium EMS service outside of these walls that we call. We're giving it to you. We subsidize it. Hell, we'll even pay for the water tower for you too. There's 120 million. When we look at that, excuse me, young man?
Let's not
What?
Please, can we just wait?
Do you know these facts? Come on up here and show me the facts. Please do. Whoa, whoa.
Scott, let's let the board discuss this. The board has comments. We do have a second public comment period, and I will let everyone speak for the.
For those that want to understand this and realize what they bring in, we put $25,000 out the door every single week in our fire and EMS. And I'm grateful to do it. And I want to continue to do it. And I love everything that you do. I asked the union president the other day what he thought that he made, what he cost the Village of Medina. He had no idea. You know what he said when I told him the real figures? Fair enough.
Don't.
I wasn't talking to you.
Scott,
hey,
don't.
Whatever. Hey, when you put, then why don't you leave? Listen, when you put, when you put my name on it,
Okay, so let's bring this in a little bit. Scott?
You're a
you have
public
right as
servant.
Trustee.
You guys sat over there, and you dismissed what everyone wanted to say. I'm sorry if the truth, I mean, it is what it is. Nobody is disrespecting anything here. I mean, our public safety is very important to us. All 6 departments, our police department, our fire department, our EMS, public safety goes beyond like what we do. Jason getting salt on our roads. Our public safety is the most important thing in our community, and that's why I'm here. And I won't be disrespecting, and I won't be, when I'm giving facts. If you really wanted to, the fear mongering, it really has to stop. It really does. Because at the end of the day, we bring in 1.3 million. What do you? Nobody's debating what it is, right? It's all a service that we need. But if we don't control our spending and we don't reel it in, we're not going to be here. Where are all these paid fire departments? Do they weigh like Middleport and think that they're going to die because they don't have a fire truck or a paid department? Where's Hamlin's? Where's Hilton's? Where's Wilson's? Where's Newfane's? We are the last man standing here. We are trying to make this work. And I tell you, we're not going to make it work by spending $2.6 million on a fire truck. We're all in. We're all in with our fire department, but we got to think of the way that we're going to do it different. And I'm sorry, when you just go on the attack, nobody asked like what our plan is. Everybody just wanted to go ahead and think that they knew what it was and just start the fear, right? We're going to be like anyone else. Do your own homework, people, please, by all means. Google Fisher's Fire District. See what happened there. Google Fredonia, the closest village that has a paid fire department. See what just happened to their tax rate. High taxes drive down property values. Bottom line, what's going to end up happening is I go to sell my house. Not only do I have to sell my house, but I have to sell a $5,000 Medina tax bill with it. And I'm not talking about me. There's other people in this community that have that. It's only, I pay $100 a week just in my house to the village alone. And I'm happy to do it because of everything that I have. But when you have to go and sell that to someone that didn't grow up here and doesn't know how beautiful it is and everything that we have, it's a tough sell. Not only do I'm a taxpayer here, I'm a business owner here, I flip houses here. I check all the boxes for a taxpayer. Please, don't insult me with that I don't care about the community. I have 29 immediate family members that live within the village of this Medina, in the village of Medina. So I'm sorry. I will be outside after this meeting. If anybody wants the facts, come early, come late. But if you want the facts, what everything really costs us, it's right here. Do yourself a little homework, go through. In the last 3 years, benefits went up $350,000. Holy cow. When you look at $135,000, when you look at our synopsis, all you really have to do is look at money to be raised by taxes. Put $135,000 on there for the debt service. It's 3.3%. Tax cap's done this year. And you know what? That's the new standard. We're overriding it every year. If you think that we're not gonna, and we had some real good years, Debbie touched based on it with the ARPA money and what we did. Our reassessed years, I don't know. So what ended up happening is that we came off of a year that was just astronomical. And I'm sorry that I'm taking up everybody's time, but boy, I endured a lot of opinions sitting here. So we come off 11.64% tax increase. We order a brand new ladder truck 2 months later. Good idea. Why did we get there? So then we come to the assessment year, the very next year. Is anybody in here? Did they get laid out? The tax assessor did a great job. I believe that we're assessed correct, but I know some of us in here got some pretty hefty bills. And when you look at it in the way that last year we kept taxes down to a controllable amount. And the only way that we were able to do that was we cut everything. We cut programs, personnel, people that work in our community. We put ourselves at risk. Well, the cutting's done. There's no more we can do. We put this on. I tell you, we're heading for a financial cliff. And none of us are going to be able to sustain it if we keep spending the way that we are with this truck. I'd love it.
Do I think that we can afford this one? I don't. Can we afford a ladder truck? I absolutely do think that we can. But the needs and the wants are what we have here. We're looking at millions and millions of dollars in our fire hall. I mean, we can't sustain that if we don't start thinking different and not just, are there going to be mistakes made along the way? Absolutely. But if we go down here, the infrastructure crisis? I wasn't even here 9 months ago. The people that voted for this, there was majority vote on the board. Why didn't you just build it? Like, you had the vote. Like, why does it take me to say that this probably isn't a good deal? So, I mean, if you want the facts on where the money is, I'd be more than willing, and anybody can pick these up at the clerk's office and look at the numbers, see where we're at, see where we're headed. I mean, anyone that's paid taxes in this village, do the math yourself on your own taxes. You know what your raises are. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is right now, other than we got to do a little better with the way we spend our money. So, thanks.
Good. Jess?
I don't think I have anything unique to say, but I haven't been saying for years, and I think that you guys are probably tired of it, so ditto what I said the other times. To briefly sum up, I'm never opposed to more information. I know the motion kind of lingering out there about getting more information. I think the more information we have, it's just a decision by everybody. I was on the board that voted for order the truck. I am haunted by the sentences of you ordered the truck with no place to put it. Because when we ordered the truck, we didn't believe we would have no place to put it. Number of reasons, personal to many people on this board, we did not immediately move on rejecting that head-cracking $6 million proposal for all the changes that were made by that initial engineering firm, which turned out to be demonstrably dishonest with us when the CIO started. Okay. So, long story short, when we ordered the truck, we believed we would have time to put the building up. We also tried very hard to get all of the information possible. As board members change over time, they brought new information to them. That information was valuable and we needed to hear it. In some cases, that led to changes in decision, not just on this particular, fire but on a number of things. And sometimes new board members come in with really important thoughts that if you didn't wait and hear them, you wouldn't have. So the board that we have now has shaped the decisions that have been made in a positive direction by adding information. I'm a little concerned about the languaging that I'm deeply concerned about languaging that left here and why we have a truck now that we have to figure out where we're going to put when, like, that was initially like a little Facebook meme and it's adorable. But it's not that cute anymore. We literally have a truck with no place to put it. I'm ready to put the truck someplace. I think the MRD proposal was fair and I wouldn't be ready to move on that. I can't help both. I'm not eating that motion tonight. But when we're getting more information to make a better decision, I think that's fantastic. I think that the motion that Doug and Scott are voting is perfectly fine, and we can narrow it a little bit to make sure we're not separating these votes and doing anything confusing. But at the end of the day, we're here to represent what the people that are in this village are looking for, and I genuinely believe that's what the people on the board are trying to do. I am routinely in communication with different people. That's why we're not all on the same street, the same neighborhood. We're supposed to be representing different groups of people. And I think that broadening I'm hearing you guys in the audience are broadening your views on things, and I'm hearing more perspectives. I'm noticing some shifts in demeanor. And I'm hoping that continues as time goes on. We start to have a little bit more of an understanding of how we got where we were and what the future of Medina looks like, not just the tax rate's important. I'm in a single family house. I make $4,200 a year at this job. And it's the only job that pays me. So I'm essentially in a single family household, I have a young kid, my house is up to $217,000. So I'm at $129,000. Is the median $129,000? Whatever the median is, I'm sure the assessment, but I'm far above the median, paying high taxes, so that is a factor, but the taxes are the thing. And I hope that we can get this buttoned up so we can find something else in place that is not necessarily.
Thank you, Jess. We've made commitment after commitment to the safety of our community members with this purchase. And like Jess said, this was not taken lightly. I've been going back through board minutes since 2021. And I am quoted as saying this village cannot afford the projected debt service based on the current proposal from B&L. Jess has been quoted saying the same thing. Trustee Padelski even commended me at one board meeting, saying thank you for looking out for the taxpayer. So I want the community to know that we are cognizant of making and keeping this village affordable. But we've made a commitment with this purchase. And it's time to figure out ways that we can make it work instead of, and stop thinking of ways to simply cut another service. We have to look at our taxes, yes, but I wish that we could all collaborate and go after for some funding. If this board could agree to start asking other neighboring municipalities for money to help support what we have letters saying that they support our fire department. They want our fire department. Well, let's see if we can get some additional funding for our fire department and the needs that they have. I'm trying to be solution-based here. I am working tirelessly. I'm trying to find funding. The paying for an addition for this truck is not an option. The taxpayers can't afford this. But there are things out there that we can go after to try to work through this. And this is a hiccup. But I think if we all put our efforts together to try to find some solution, that we can find a solution. We all agree that having this public safety is really, really important. But when I hear people saying, oh, we can't afford a fire department, that scares me. We moved here. I want a fire department. And I want a EMS service. But we've got to start working together as a board. We have to start saying, let's try to solve some problems. Okay. We'll move into, hang on, I lost my agenda. Oh, we had a motion. Oh, he didn't want to speak. Mark didn't want to speak. So we had a motion on the floor to research, or no, not to research, to get information about the potentially selling the ladder truck and pursuing a used truck. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So there's a motion by Felicity. Is there a second for that? Okay. The second for Padelski. Is there any more discussion?
Yeah, we don't need to get a motion. I don't think we've made that call. Is that Matt? Call roll development?
Yes. Matt, are you good to do the legal research on rural development and as far as our options go?
Well, if that's what you direct me to, I thought you wanted me to do more research on the actual process of selling. Yeah, I don't know who our contact with rural development is. I haven't spoken to them, but
okay, I can do that. I'll reach out to rural development.
but I assumed the research on the process of selling.
Motion to get information about selling the land truck and buying a used truck.
Okay. Oh, okay, got it. Thank you, Jada. I have all the different motions written out here. Thank you. So we have a motion and then we have a second by Pavelski. Is there any more discussion?
Yeah, what does that mean? We're back to the beginning. I thought the whole idea was to find out from development if we were able to sell it.
I'm not gonna ask them. Why would they do that?
Definitely. Can you speak in the microphone, Debbie? Tell what you've been
gone over it, Jeff. Explain it to you. We're looking into selling the truck. Looking into selling the truck. We're gonna be, maybe, I'm not sure how we're gonna go about this yet. You just agreed to it. So, no, we're looking at brokers, we're gonna be looking for, I don't know.
No, I think.
Put it up for sale.
We agreed to follow the see what we're going to agree.
Okay, so rural development is not included in this motion, but didn't we say that first we should reach out, didn't you say that? First we should reach out to rural development to see if they would approve the sale. You don't want to reach out to rural development yet, unless we see if there's something else out there we can get.
You should know legally if you can sell it.
Okay, so hang on. Okay, I have to process it.
I did contact bond council and I did contact our financial people, and that's what they told me. That it is possible to sell the truck. First step is to get approval from rural development. They would have to approve, they would have to give us approval to sell. We don't have a buyer though. I mean, we need to research a buyer. We need to put it up for sale.
And we have to have something to replace it. And so hold on. So we also have to have something to replace it. If we're not taking this truck, we have to have something to replace it. And so we have to figure out how we're going to fund a used truck. So
it's your words now.
I think what you said
This
is
is
not what I.
stalling. There's a motion on the table. This is stalling. There's a motion on the table. There's a second. Let's have a vote. I'm sorry.
Well, I think that the point of any further discussion is to make sure we all understand what we're voting for. And the fact that we're now saying that I was possibly on board for making a motion for the truck up for sale, see what kind of bids we get, I certainly did.
And then you can vote no.
So is that what the motion is now, is to post the truck up for sale? But that motion is incredibly late, and doesn't clarify what we do.
And don't, then we'll go. I'm not gonna stay here.
So I see what she's saying, because, let me read it again. The motion was to get information about selling the ladder truck and buying a used truck, just to get information. So Jess is saying that she is not just going to agree to selling this ladder truck, that's part of the motion.
Until you talk to the comptroller, I'm not even be comfortable putting it up for sale. Like, they're not even to collect bids, like, this is too many steps in advance. I mean, for me, the motion's on the table. I'm pretty clear on the motion. The motion's on the table.
So the motion is on the table to gather information about selling the truck and buying a used truck. And, is that, so we have a motion by Polisky, a second by Pavelski. I want to know who's getting that information. Who's working on it?
I've already, couple members of the public reached out to me with contacts with the buyers in mind. I said, we're not gonna make a decision until after our meeting to see what we could get for the truck. And, you know, everything that we've seen so far, we didn't have all the specs and pictures of it to give the brokers and other people on what the fees were. I sent them over what I had. And, it was more than what we purchased for the truck with their broker fees taken out. Yeah, I have to get some information about the truck, pictures from the truck and send it over to the people. But a lot of the members from the community are the ones that had it up and sent quotes over to me.
Yeah, they're probably